and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a report released Tuesday found a database of 117 million law-abiding Americans is being used by police for facial recognition of suspects, which many constitute violations of civil liberties. The Georgetown University Law Center found 16 states are using the database in investigations to create virtual lineups and investigations and is calling on Congress to enact laws to limit its use to criminal investigations. The concern, according to researchers, is that the database could be used to monitor political or religious speech. The database was also found to contain a disproportionate number of minorities. Claire Garvey, an associate at the Georgetown University Law Center and author of the report, said in a press release, face recognition is a powerful technology that requires strict oversight, but those controls by and large do not exist today, with only a few exceptions. There are no laws governing police use of the technology, no standards ensuring its accuracy, and no system checking for bias. It's a wild west. The technology was used to identify rioters in Baltimore during protest over the death of Freddie Gray. Some questioned whether it was proper because it could result in police approaching innocent people and violating the rights of protesters. David Roca, a staff attorney at the ACLU of Maryland, told the Baltimore Sun, the chilling effects on people exercising their First Amendment right seem to be pretty clear. In the report, researchers suggested the database should be limited to using police photographs, not driver's license photos or those from other forms of identification. Law enforcement should eliminate innocent people from their searches, and searches that do include driver's license photos should require a court order, and a ban should be placed on any tracking of people for political or religious beliefs, race, or ethnicity. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports as Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was preparing to go head-to-head with Democratic rival Hillary Clinton in the third and final debate in Las Vegas on Wednesday, hundreds of hospitality workers and protesters gathered outside the hotel Trump co-owns near the Las Vegas Strip. Demonstrators waved signs and banners next to what the organizers called a wall of taco trucks. That was a reference to Trump's proposal to build a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico, as well as a riff on comments by a Trump supporter, Marco Gutierrez, who had said without action on immigration reform, you're going to have a taco truck on every corner. The protest was organized by the Culinary Union, which represents 57,000 workers in Nevada, the majority of whom are Latino. According to Bethany Kahn, the Culinary Union's communication director, workers at the Trump International Hotel voted to unionize in December 2015, but still do not have a contract. Some protesters blame that on Trump, who owns 50% of the property. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A report by Stanford University researchers released Thursday found that Americans spend 90% of their waking hours staring at glowing rectangles. Researchers identified more than 30 varieties of iridescent rectangles, ranging from personal and work rectangles to rectangles that heat food and those that can fit right in one's pocket.
From the moment Americans wake up, they are captivated by these bright, pulsing rectangles. In fact, if you look at the data, it's hard to find a single minute when the public isn't captivated by these, I'm sorry, where were we?
In local news, a run-over squirrel is remembered as frantic and indecisive. And in other news, a trail of rose petals leads a wife to a sink full of dishes. Prince Fielder reports to spring training exactly the right amount overweight, and a local yard sale reeks of divorce. If you don't hear the sound of my voice the same time next week, alert my family and then visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and we are live. I mean, that's the name, right? If it's 7 p to 10 p Eastern time where you are, we are doing the show.
We are here.
Doesn't matter the day. We're doing it 7p to 10p Eastern Time. It's Mark with you.
And Chris.
You can call us and talk about whatever is on your mind. But we do bring things in because we'd be crappy talk show hosts if we didn't. And, Chris, you had one that got my attention. It's apparently the folks in the military like Gary Johnson more than Clinton and Trump.
Well, more than Clinton.
Okay.
Trump still leads, but we'll get into that in the story.
It was more than both.
Well, I could be wrong. I did skim the article first, but we'll double check here. This comes from the Christian Science Monitor, and I thought that was kind of interesting because a lot of times we see Gary Johnson stories that are almost exclusively from libertarian-leaning media. Yeah. Yep. So the title of this is Why Military Voters Pick Gary Johnson Over Hillary Clinton. A new poll shows Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson beating Hillary Clinton by 7 points among active military personnel, despite his proposals to cut military spending and a lack of foreign policy knowledge.
I don't understand why people think that adding military spending is somehow supporting the troops.
Yeah.
The troops, ladies and gentlemen, the troops would prefer not to be shot at. They would prefer it if you not send them to places at which they will be shot. That's about right. At which they will be shot at, whatever it is.
I get your gist.
They don't want that. Supporting the troops doesn't mean supporting war.
Yeah, and at least among the veterans that I know and I've talked to, a lot of them have a real issue with following policies as opposed to protecting America, which is what, we get into this a lot, but a lot of the veterans I know, they are patriotic. They care about our country. They don't care so much about our government. They care about our country, which is, to me, an important distinction.
Yeah, I consider that an important distinction. I still say, that they should probably pay attention. Like, it's the duty thing that bothers me, I guess, the most. If I had, like, there's a point when that an organization no longer deserves duty. No longer deserves your fidelity. And people in the military are very strong on the fidelity to the government, even if the government is wrong.
Right.
And that's, if my wife is wrong, I will tell her. If she's wrong, taking a wrong stance, in front of people, I will express my disagreement. I'll be kind about it. I mean, I'm not going to say, you dumb ninny,
right,
or anything like that. But I'm going to say that, I have a different opinion, and this is what I think. I wouldn't have fidelity, if she, say, keeps on making the wrong turn at a location. She doesn't seem to learn. I'm going to do what I can take.
I'm going this way.
I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we start going the other direction. Now, I use my wife as an example because that's a person to whom I feel like I have the most duty, the most fidelity. My business partner, Ian, would probably be the next person. I'm happy to say when he's wrong.
Right.
People in the military just don't want to say when the government was wrong, especially in the past on wars.
Yeah, and I think that's changing a little bit. And I do look at one organization that I was actively involved with for quite a while, and that's Oath Keepers. Oath Keepers, the basic premise of Oath Keepers is there is such a thing as an unconstitutional order.
Yep.
And it is your duty, if you swore an oath to the Constitution to protect and defend it, when confronted with an unconstitutional order, you must, not should, you must disobey it. And that's a tough position, and it's one of those things that it's hard to accept when you've spent a lot of years in basically an organization that teaches you to do what you are told without question.
When you are told it.
Yeah.
Oath Keepers really has managed to, sort of as a brand, to keep the tough guy thing going on at the same time as dissenting. So there's Iraq Veterans Against the War, Vietnam Veterans Against the War. There's these organizations, but they've always sort of been the Democrats that managed to make it through the military is really sort of what I think people think of these organizations. And I think there's something to that. Oath Keepers doesn't have that same that same kind of prejudice towards them. They really very, very much seem like the constitutionalists that are still ready to bear arms to protect the public.
That would be my description of them. They are very constitutionally minded. They are mostly conservative as opposed to liberal.
Yeah.
So anyway, the article continues here. traditionally, military voters have a conservative slant and are more likely to support Republican candidates for the presidency.
That's, I think, true largely for firefighters and police, too.
Yeah.
These protector roles have a tendency to be Republicans. Now, that's not certainly true everywhere. I would expect the firemen and police in places like New York City and that sort of thing to be more likely to vote Democrat because they're union.
Exactly. And the union influence is strong, but certainly not in the military. But an increasingly unconventional and divisive election with historically unlikable major party candidates, some have chosen to shift from their partisan ties and jump to the other side of the aisle or put their vote towards a third-party candidate. But when that third-party candidate has revealed a lack of knowledge of foreign policy, Aleppo, a surge in support for him becomes more difficult to expound. Quote, "It's a little hard to explain, actually," unquote. Matthew Dallek, a professor of George Washington University's Graduate School of Political Management, tells the Christian Science Monitor, "There's no kind of rational basis. I think it's less about a vote for Johnson than it is about a vote against the two major party nominees," unquote. I kind of disagree with that, because the other thing that the military kind of has a history of when they do these polls was strong support for Gary Johnson last time around.
And Ron Paul.
And Ron Paul.
And Ron Paul before that.
Yes.
So I think that if I had to make an estimation on this, Gary Johnson does well with millennial voters. And one of the reasons, I suspect, is because he's not, he's not Clinton and Trump. But part of the reason is because he's libertarian, and millennials tend to be a bit more libertarian. Libertarianism has creeped in to society at its youngest levels pretty thoroughly, and I'm not saying that that they're a majority or anything like that, but here in the military, apparently Johnson's doing quite well. Part of the reason is because he's not Trump and he's not Clinton, but the other reason is because they're young and they're they're more likely to be, I guess, would you call libertarianism conservative? Because I can see how people come to that terminology, but I mean,
in some ways, I think that libertarians have more in common with today's modern version of conservatism than we do with today's version of socialism or liberalism. To put another spin on what you said there before, while libertarianism does seem to be creeping into the mainstream, I also think it has something to do with the younger generations becoming more understanding of what libertarian is. It's sort of the same thing, but sort of different. Do you know what I mean? They're starting to understand these concepts of liberty and freedom, and and in a lot of states, for example, well, why can't we have legalized marijuana? A little subject like that can open up that dialogue.
Well, if in the 1950s, I believe it was, I think it was Murray Rothbard who said this, but don't hold me to it. The idea that the ideas of liberty, the libertarian ideas, the people who believed these were in the dozens.
Right.
There just weren't very many at all. They managed to get to the point in the early 70s that they created a political party that, got some more traction and spread the word some more. Up until the 90s, if you ask somebody how they heard about the ideas of liberty, the chances were that they would say one of two people, which was Ayn Rand or Heinlein. It's unlikely that they would say anything else. Heinlein was a science fiction writer. Ayn Rand was a philosopher. She wasn't exactly libertarian, but there's a correlation.
Certainly some libertarian ideals there.
After that, you're starting to, people start finding the ideas differently. Harry Brown managed to have some outreach. Ron Paul had some outreach. Free Talk Live very early on.
Absolutely.
And, people are just finding out about it. It's going, they've told two friends and so on and so on. What are your thoughts? 855-450-3733 at 855-450-FREE.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-929-5733. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-929-5733. 1-800-929-5733.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. See website for details.
Need some extra cash today? Do you have bad credit or maxed out credit cards? If so, turn your radio up. 45cash.com is one of the nation's largest personal loan networks with over 50 different lenders. Now you can get a personal loan for up to $5,000 with any type of credit discreetly from your computer or smartphone and with no paperwork to send in. That's right, no paperwork whatsoever. Your cash will hit your bank account as soon as tomorrow, as our lenders have millions of dollars to lend regardless of your credit history. Visit 45cash.com and you can have up to $5,000 in no time. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income and you can get the loan you need now, regardless of your credit. Go to 45cash.com from your smartphone or computer to get the cash you need. Visit 45cash.com. Type www.45cash.com directly into the address bar. That's 45cash.com. 45cash.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Coming to you live, talking right now about the troops and their feelings about Gary Johnson, the presidential candidate of the Libertarian Party. I like Gary Johnson better than I like the other two candidates and the major parties. So I'm leaning towards him. I think that he's a better choice personally. The number. My name is Mark,
and this is Chris.
The number is 1-855-450-3733. You can give your opinion. It's 855-450-FREE. But first, have you ever wanted to start your own blog or a website, but you haven't been able to put your ideas into action? Well, you're in luck. HostGator, one of the top hosting companies out there, is offering a special deal to Free Talk Live listeners. So this isn't just the kind of deal. You can't find this deal on the internet. This is not available anyplace else. If you're looking to start a website, and get some hosting, you need to take advantage of this because this is not going to last forever. It's 50% off of their regular prices. So hosting your website or blog can be intimidating, but HostGator makes it easy. They've got a simple one-click easy installation for WordPress. They've got 24/7 over the phone or live chat text support and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into your hands. And you can get, by the way, they have a 99.99% uptime rating. That's not a guarantee. That's the truth of what has happened in the past. So nearly 100%. You don't have to worry about outages. You can get the special offer, a 50% off for Free Talk Live listeners. HostGator.com/FTL. Let's go to the phones. Patrick calling in from Arizona. Patrick, you're on Free Talk Live. Listen to K-Talks.
Hey guys, I to chime in earlier what you were saying about you were saying you tell your wife when she's wrong. I'd love you to do a whole show on that, explaining how you can actually do that and survive the day, or possibly what would happen to your life when you do that. I've been married 20 years, and to be honest with you, it had never worked out. I learned at an early time in my marriage to basically just sort of put it in the back of my mind and keep my lips shut and just, okay, she's right. Let's just leave it at that,
Yep.
But
so that's certainly it's a modern idea, right? Like that you better let your wife be right, otherwise life's going to stink. And I understand it. Certainly, there's give and take in my particular relationship. It doesn't happen to be in the area of sort of what I consider sort of philosophical truth or anything like that. But for instance, my wife drives the car. She's just a better, she just can navigate a vehicle better than I can. She's, I look at things that I'm going by. It drives her insane. Plus the fact that she'll scream whenever anything happens. So I just decided at one point, looks like she's going to be driving from here on out, and it'll be better for everybody. She also handles the money. These are traditionally things that men do. Go ahead, Patrick.
Like last night or yesterday, I get a call on the way home from her saying that her tire light came on.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to come up to my work immediately and fix this problem. Well, I'm thinking, what the heck? I don't know what's going on. So I went up there, and then I go in there. We get it up on the rack over at my friend's place, and find out that she's the tire's been bashed up against the curb. Well, you don't tell her she's right. You just look at her and say, honey, did you hit something recently? No. Oh, I guess then it's my fault. And it's hilarious because I think, you're right about the newer generations and the new way of thinking and everything. I guess I'm from an older generation, but I've learned that if she could blame something, it would be my fault.
I think
it's hilarious.
I think it's generally a pretty safe bet to not spend a lot of time, making anybody wrong, especially somebody you're in a relationship with, and those sorts of things. What I'm talking about is disagreeing on a subject, usually something more abstract. But I will say that I had no intention of getting married. I wasn't looking to get married. I was reasonably good at being single, and life was fine being single. So I brought to the relationship sort of, you can be here or not be here. It doesn't really matter to me. And I think that that's a nice place to start, sort of that independence thing. And I would have never married my wife if she was like what I perceive most women to be like, if she was sort of girly or anything like that. I just don't have time or energy for that stuff.
Want straightforward, just here's who I am.
Yeah. She's basically, to be crude, she's a man with a big rack, right? Like, she doesn't think the way that I consider most women to think. And,
Oh, you're a lucky man then. I'll tell you, I almost waited. I waited till I was almost 40 before I got married, and we're going on 20 years now. And I'm telling you right now, I never thought that I would ever be married either. But when it happens, It just happens, I guess.
Indeed.
But yeah,
Thanks for the time, Patrick.
What you guys were saying. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, one phrase that comes up in these conversations sometimes is, well, you know, you got to pick your battles, Mark.
You do.
But I hate that phrase because I don't want to battle with somebody. No. I just try to put things in perspective. Is this a big deal or is this just a little deal? And if it's a mild improvement on how we might get to work in less time, which we both would appreciate, then that's a good thing. I just hate to hear people always, you know, you got to pick your battles. I'm like, why? I don't want my relationship to be a war.
I never wanted a relationship where I had to shut up. I'm bad at that, right? I'm a talk show host, so
yeah.
I like to talk. And if there's an opportunity to make a joke about something, I'm going to make that joke. If that joke's at your expense, it doesn't bother me. Okay? So, and that's true for my wife. Like, I'm willing to make jokes at my expense. I do it all the time.
Sure.
But, you know, if you're going to be willing to listen to my jokes about me and at my expense, you need to be willing to listen to my jokes about you at your expense. And that's just one of the things about living with me that, you know, that it's reality. Hopefully it's not a bad point, because if you can laugh at yourself, then you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I think everybody has, everybody has foibles. None of us are the perfect human being. Hopefully we can find somebody who fills in the gaps in our personality. I know I found that, and, I'm pretty happy about that. But I'm sure, I know she's frustrated by the fact that I don't seem to be able to remember anything. Like I can't handle day-to-day tasks without creating messes and forgetting stuff and those sorts of things. But
well, and I remind myself of those things when something starts to bother me. I'm like, I know there's things that I do that absolutely drive her nuts. I try not to do them, but they're still there, and so
yeah. There's some things about your personality you can change, and there's some things about your personality you simply can't. I can't make myself remember things.
Right.
Like that's sort of the definition of forgetting.
Right. And I've got a long history of Alzheimer's in our family, so God knows what's going to happen when I start forgetting.
Yeah, well, geez, I don't know when mine started. Probably around my 20s. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Want to build a maintenance-free, low and slow charcoal briquette fire that burns for hours for free? MeatMastersRadio.com will show you how to build a low-temp charcoal fire that's guaranteed fiddle-proof. It's easy and free. MeatMastersRadio.com teaches charcoal barbecue skills on new topics every week. Go to MeatMastersRadio.com. That's MeatMastersRadio.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
On the second Saturday of every month, the Texas Republic Congress meets in a joint session. To learn how you can attend or become a member of Congress, visit thetexasrepublic.com. And together, we can liberate Texas.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, the number. Well, I'll give it to you here in a second. We're talking about Gary Johnson and his popularity amongst the troops, according to the Christian Science Monitor, and sort of why that is. So it's true that Gary Johnson is more popular than Hillary Clinton amongst the troops. And why is that? Well, they've got their opinion, we've got ours, and we're talking about it. We all know the power of a good T-shirt to catch people's attention. If you're a fan of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you need to check out store.bitcoin.com. It's got the largest and best selection of T-shirts for the crypto enthusiast. Art, hardware, and other great stuff are all for sale at store.bitcoin.com. And I went over there. I was really impressed with all the things that they have. It's Bitcoin.com really has become the destination for learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So go check out their swag, store.bitcoin.com. So Gary Johnson, going on with this article.
Sure. And to recap, this was Christian Science Monitor talking about why Gary Johnson is polling higher than Hillary Clinton with active duty military. The story continues. The Military Times/Institute for Veterans and Military Families poll, which was conducted between October 12th and 14th, surveyed nearly 2,500 active service members about who they plan to vote for in the presidential election. Just over 40% said they would vote for Donald Trump, so again, very high, while 27% picked Mr. Johnson and another 20% selected Ms. Clinton.
27% of people are going to vote for Gary Johnson. And this is what, in which group? Just military or?
Yes.
Okay.
2,500 active service members.
That's your in-tab. That's a pretty good in-tab.
Yep, absolutely.
If it's spread out all over the military.
Yep.
Instead of, say, just one post or something.
Right, or one branch. I think they polled across all branches, too.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, less than 5% said they didn't plan on voting, while the rest said they plan to vote for Green Party candidate Jill Stein or write-in third-party candidate.
Now, let me ask you this. Do the branches of military cross much? Do Army guys talk to Marines? Active duty Army guys talk to active duty Marines very often. Navy talk to Air Force. I mean, does this happen?
It depends on where you're stationed and what kind of a job you have and things like that. So yeah, if you're deployed on a Army base, military base overseas, the odds are very good that you're going to have at least, say Marines and Army there, and you may have some other, you may have some Navy guys if there's special forces and stuff like that.
Now, I know that there's some level of competition, animosity between the branches. Does this still go on, or is this old school stuff?
There is certainly esprit de corps. So people that are in the Army are very proud of the Army. People that are Marines are ridiculously proud to be Marines.
They seem to be.
They are.
There's far fewer Marines than there are.
Army
personnel.
It's much smaller, but I never really felt that the Army, and I was in the U.S. Army, really had that esprit de corps that was anywhere close to what the Marines did.
Usually, a bigger group wouldn't have the esprit de corps, as it were.
Yeah. And if you're stationed stateside at a lot of military bases, there will be multiple branches that are there, or in, say, NATO countries and things like that.
So most people, most active duty military, mix branches, or most don't?
It's really hard. I'm the wrong guy to ask because my job was very much across different branches. So I did work with every branch of the military and a whole lot of civilians. I worked with more civilians than I did with military.
All right, so you can't answer the question. I guess it's it's difficult to know. I was just wondering whether or not you say it was this poll was across branches, and I was just wondering if this organically grew from the bottom or if it spread from service member to service member. That kind of thing.
No, it's a good question. Johnson, who polls as high as 8% nationally, sees significantly higher favorability among the military. Those numbers are somewhat surprising, as the candidate's qualifications to serve as U.S. Commander-in-Chief were questioned when he was asked what he'd do if elected about Aleppo, a city in Syria central to the local conflict.
Now, and he's like, "What's Aleppo?" And now, admittedly, right before that, he was, it was a foible. There's no doubt about it. But right before that, he was asked about, the 2001 election and the spoiler and that sort of thing. So it's a big jump between. You remember what happened in 2001? Third party spoiler to what are you going to do about Aleppo?
Right.
What?
Yeah, what's Aleppo?
And he's had he's had more than one of these, and I don't think that if you ask Americans where Aleppo is, that you're going to find very many people. I would guess that you're probably talking about 10% that can say that Aleppo is in Syria.
What was the most Googled word the day after Gary Johnson was Aleppo?
Aleppo.
Because nobody wanted to be that guy who didn't know what Aleppo was. Well, Gary Johnson.
He didn't know where it was. And
I've heard,
then when you place a map of Syria down in front of them, tell them where to, place Aleppo on the map. I don't think I managed to get it within 65 kilometers, which I'm going to call a victory. But
better than I did.
Just because I know where the war's going on and most of the conflicts going on in Syria, that's why I was able to put it, get pretty close with it. I was off by a little ways, but I've seen a Facebook meme where they put a picture of Iran up there and said put Aleppo on the map, and I'm like, this isn't Syria. It took me about 10 seconds to realize it wasn't even Syria.
Coincidentally, the top Google map search the day after Gary Johnson's foible was, where is Aleppo?
Yes.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those things. I have heard worse answers come out of Trump's mouth and out of Hillary's mouth when they actually knew what they were talking about.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, really? But
if you don't know where some place is, you can't bomb it. So I find that to be a plus.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not trying to elect somebody who's going to be the greatest geography whiz. I'm trying to elect somebody who I believe is going to be the best at managing a large group of people to lessen the tax burden on Americans and drop the fewest amount of bombs on foreigners.
Sure. And I am not electing somebody because we conduct global policy like we play the game Jeopardy. It's not like you have to sit there and hit your buzzer within 5 seconds before you can take action.
Sure. Although I think a game of Jeopardy might be the best way to pick a better way to pick a president than what we do now. Anything has to be better if you look at the results that we've had up to this point, right?
Hey,
I'm willing. I think that it would be.
I'm not throwing it out.
It would be a lot better. Let's do one of those week-long Jeopardy things, and you can have you can put 15 candidates in there at that point. Then you would have 5 winners, and then you can round robin out the next week.
Heck
2
yeah.
weeks.
And some great TV too.
2 weeks.
I'm liking it, Mark.
I mean, I'm fine with it. You're probably going to get a better president.
Well, back to Gary Johnson. In another interview, he failed to recall the name of a single foreign leader he respected.
Well, recall or think of one. I mean,
exactly.
The idea. So if somebody asked me to.
That would be a stumper for me.
To think of a foreign leader that they respected, I would have a very difficult time coming up with one because the idea that a head of state, like for a libertarian to pick a head of state that they respect, is difficult. I don't particularly respect very many heads of state,
including our own.
Right. I mean, I would have probably said Thomas Jefferson. That's a safe bet. Lots of people like him for lots of different reasons. But whatever. That's just the one that I would have come up with at the time. Margaret Thatcher's a reasonable winner too, because you got the woman and the conservative thing at the same time.
Oh, but the headlines would be Mark Edge thinks that Margaret Thatcher is still a head of state. Libertarian Mark Edge.
Right.
Yeah, that would be it.
If you're looking for a current one, I've got to say I think we've got a dearth of good leadership in the world. I've heard people claim that the guy who's the president over in New Zealand's good, and New Zealand certainly has become more free over the course of the last decade, or at least the United States has become less free, and New Zealand has risen as a result.
It's certainly not a topic I spend a lot of time worrying about. And maybe
I don't
Gary
care about
Johnson
your heads of
does.
state.
Are you supposed to? I don't know.
The number 855-450-3733. Do you think that's what ruined the Johnson campaign? A couple of slips there? Slips. 855-450-3733 or LRN.FM's our username on Skype. 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live. Every once in a while you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Investment Rarities, a 43-year-old company, has created the best silver offer ever. Get a U.S. Silver Eagle, Canadian Maple Leaf, Austrian Philharmonic, OPM Pure Bar, and Silver Round. Have all 5 for $99 postpaid. You heard me right, 5 ounces of silver below cost. No credit card fees, free shipping. Just $99 and you'll have a great start on what it takes to survive even the worst economic storm. Act now and receive Jim Cook's exclusive paper explaining how it's possible to make a fortune in silver today. Don't miss this opportunity. Call 800-328-1860. Read how the above-ground supply of silver has dropped below even gold. The secret is being suppressed. The price could explode at any time. Call today at 800-328-1860. Get 5 ounces of silver for only $99. Find them on the web at investmentrarities.com or call 800-328-1860. Call now before it's too late. 800-328-1860.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Has this election season gotten you excited about the Libertarian Party? Has it gotten you mad? Do you want to see more candidates like Gary Johnson? Or do you want to see hardline libertarians? Either way, you don't have to sit on the sidelines and complain. You can make a difference by getting involved. Free Talk Live has, believe it or not, negotiated a free membership for you in the Libertarian Party at lp.org/FTL. This is a limited time offer, so go sign up for your free membership now at lp.org/FTL.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, it is Free Talk Live. And you can call in and talk about whatever you want. We've been talking about this article out of the Christian Science Monitor about the troops apparently favoring Gary Johnson over Hillary Clinton and really sort of nearly, in parity with Donald Trump.
Yeah, not that far behind.
It's kind of surprising. Obviously, people in the military, and I think mostly these sort of protector careers of firefighters, police, these sorts of things tend to be a little more conservative or Republican-leaning, those kind of things. And it's interesting to see them favoring the libertarian. Mm-hmm. Now, in the case of Ron Paul, I know that he had the support of the military. He was the number one supported amongst Republicans and Democrats as far as the military went. But he was carrying the Republican banner too. So, Gary Johnson doesn't have some huge party behind him. And he has the Libertarian Party, which not a particularly big one these days. It may get bigger here in the future. It looks like it might, but
people have heard that there is one, so that's a positive thing, I guess.
So, yeah. Either way, I think it's all very interesting. I'll get to it here, but we got Parker on Skype. So, Parker, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, so I got my ballot yesterday in the mail, and I threw that away.
Okay.
I mean, is that a mistake or no?
It's not a big mistake if it's a mistake.
It's too late either way.
Whatever.
If you want me to take a position on voting, I am of the opinion that if you want to vote, you should vote. If you don't want to vote, you should not vote. But if you start assailing one side or the other, I am likely to support those sides. I vote largely because I want to support the liberty-loving people here in New Hampshire who have worked very hard on a lot of campaigns, and I feel like it's a small price to pay to put, in the case of my truck, call it a half a gallon of gas to drive to town hall and back, and I usually have some task to do at town hall anyway, so it's no big deal. When you're getting it mailed, you're talking about 50 cents. That's lost in your couch. That's an amount of money that is negligible. So, yeah. I find the principled non-voters to be annoying in their points, and I find the principled, voters that say you got to vote.
You're right and privileged. You can't complain if you don't vote.
I find them both annoying.
Civic duty,
yeah, that kind of thing. Where did the civic duty? Where was when people talk about duty? The first question I always ask is, how was the duty created?
Right.
And if your answer is I was born, I refuse to accept it. No duty was created in me when I was born. That's a terrible answer to anything.
Not duty. I believe that when I was born, I was granted with certain unalienable rights. Then things like that are part of the human condition, and that's okay. I'm with you, Mark, in that I am very, very interested in my local elections because those things really do impact me directly. This is my tax rate. This is how much money my town's going to spend. This is people that I know that are running that I want to support because they've got the right ideas, or I want to oppose them because they're horrible.
How many people vote in your town election?
About 1,000 out of population of maybe 1,900.
So in that case, that's a lot. That's when you're looking at a town election, that's a great deal.
And let me say, that's when we have like something big going on.
Okay, but I mean,
but traditionally, no, it's really more like 30 or 40%.
Yeah,
maybe.
a third and 60% of people vote in town election. Many towns, many cities can only say 10%. Of people voting, and but here in New Hampshire, we really do. I think. I'm told every single year one of the New Hampshire House races comes down to one vote or a tie and a coin flip and things like this.
Yeah.
So I reject the notion that voting doesn't make a difference. I have been involved 2 times personally in town situations where my vote would have made a difference. In one case, I was not there and something passed by 1 vote.
Yep.
And in that case, it would not have passed because a tie wouldn't have done it. Because it was 66% or something like that. It had to be 66%. And in another case, it was stopped by 1 vote, and I was there. So I can both be on both sides of these situations. I have both been able to stand in the way of spending, which by the way, went through the next year.
Right.
So all I was able to do was slow the spending. But, either way, I'm of the opinion that voting will, is worth doing sometimes. It's kind of like playing the lottery.
Yeah, and I find myself, the older I get, I tend to leave more blanks on the page. There are more positions that either I don't feel good about either candidate, then sorry, I might leave that one blank. I might vote for 7 or 8 races or 7, 8 different warrant articles, which is what they call like spending here in New Hampshire, but I might leave a few blank, and it's kind of how it is.
So another thing that I wanted to bring up is, so I'm thinking of going to the next city council meeting and reading Section 1 of the Constitution of No Authority, and I brought it up to my mom.
That's Lysander Spooner's work that makes the argument that the Constitution has either authorized all of this big government that we have, and this was written in the 1870s or something.
Or has been powerless to prevent it.
Or has been powerless to prevent this government that we have.
And in either case, it's unfit to exist.
I'm not against it. I think that it is often that libertarians imagine that they're going to do something grand and that it falls essentially like a dead bird, in the middle of the meeting. It just doesn't do anything. It makes people look at you like you've come and, done something horrible in the punch bowl.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but don't expect it to do anything.
Oh, I've given some wonderful oratories before government bodies that, like you said, okay, thank you.
Mark, what would you suggest I could do that would be more effective than reading the works of a great guy like Lysander Spooner that has a lot of valid points?
Yeah, I think he has a lot of valid points. So first off, people have to be willing to listen. I think that if you're going to this one I've done, and I've done it to some success, not a great deal of success, but it wasn't like I just farted in church, right? Right. So what I've done is I've mentioned the George Washington quote that government is like fire, and it says basically it's either a useful servant or a fearful master.
Yeah,
and that one everybody can agree with. Right? Like there's nobody out there that doesn't think the government is both useful, and it is useful. It's useful to force other people to do what you want. And on the other hand, it's a fearful master, and everybody would agree with that. And then you point out, like I try to, okay, so what government is, by its very nature, is an organization that claims a monopoly privilege on the use of violence, or at least a cartelized, use of violence on a given landmass. So in this area, the town is sacrosanct in areas where the state and the federal government aren't. And that means that all of us work together to subjugate some of us.
Yeah.
So the poor get the rich to pay taxes, and the rich get the poor to behave, and all these other things. So the question is if you want to make something illegal, Mr. Counselor person, then you need to understand that you're stealing from somebody, you're oppressing somebody every time you do it. And that's the best I've been able to come up with, and I'm not going to say it's a winner.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, so I have a friend who is training to be a Navy SEAL.
Okay.
And I've kept on trying to tell him, look, the United States government, your employer, they're not the good guys. They have never been the good guys. I keep on trying to use...
Well, who's the good guy then?
The good guy would be the average person who's just trying to make an honest living.
They don't see it that way. What
Right.
he says to himself is that he's working for that average person.
Yep.
He's trying to make the world safe for that average person.
And he's going to step up and do the hardest possible job to keep you safe.
The best thing you can do in that circumstance, I think, is to show how the United States has misused the military in the past. Look, I'm not saying that the military hasn't been arrayed against a bunch of evil mamma jammas, okay? Like, and once confronted by the enemy, the battle plan evaporates. I get all of that confusion. But at the same time, you need to look at what has the military done. How has the military been misused?
I got a little bit more.
I know you've got more, and I'm gonna hold you over. I know we've talked you into the dirt. So you gotta make sure you're in other people's worlds when you're discussing their instances, and especially somebody as dedicated as an Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
If you're calling in on Skype, I can only take one call at a time, just so you know. The number, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE, Free Talk Live.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
The Blockchain Education Network has had a busy fall semester introducing, educating, and giving away Bitcoin. The initiative believes wholeheartedly that students should understand cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Now the organization is ramping up its efforts to educate the academic masses, offering a bounty to students who help build a syllabus. The Blockchain Education Network has set aside a total of 4 Bitcoin to divide between students who add content. To learn more, go to news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $1 lower at $1,271 per ounce. Silver is 2 cents lower at $17.71 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $628 US. Robertson Roberts has been helping clients buying and selling precious metals for nearly 40 years. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, October 20th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.64 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,270 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $633. Antiwar.com reports the Syrian government has been securing several deals lately under their amnesty offer to get rebels out of Metro Damascus, and secured another territory on Wednesday as some 1,800 people, including 700 rebel fighters, left the suburb of Mudamia. Under the deal, the rebels and their families were allowed safe passage out of the suburb and will be allowed to move northward into the Idlib province, which is held by the Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. A lot of rebels have moved up into Idlib as part of the deal. Mosul. The relocation of rebels out of Metro Damascus allows the government to have a more secure control over the capital city, while the rebels in those suburbs have been virtually trapped and unable to act at any rate and aren't losing much in shifting northward. One danger, however, is that shifting everyone into the Nusra Front's territory could give that faction a huge boost in recruitment of experienced fighters at a time when the group is already one of the main focuses of the government's ongoing offensives. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a report released Tuesday found a database of 117 million law-abiding Americans is being used by police for facial recognition of suspects, which many constitute violations of civil liberties. The Georgetown University Law Center found 16 states are using the database in investigations to create virtual lineups and investigations and is calling on Congress to enact laws to limit its use to criminal investigations. The concern, according to researchers, is that the database could be used to monitor political or religious speech. The database was also found to contain a disproportionate number of minorities. Claire Garvey, an associate at the Georgetown University Law Center and author of the report, said in a press release, face recognition is a powerful technology that requires strict oversight, but those controls by and large do not exist today, with only a few exceptions. There are no laws governing police use of the technology, no standards ensuring its accuracy, and no system checking for bias. It's a wild west. The technology was used to identify rioters in Baltimore during protest over the death of Freddie Gray. Some questioned whether it was proper because it could result in police approaching innocent people and violating the rights of protesters. David Roca, a staff attorney at the ACLU of Maryland, told the Baltimore Sun, the chilling effects on people exercising their First Amendment right seem to be pretty clear. In the report, researchers suggested the database should be limited to using police photographs, not driver's license photos or those from other forms of identification. Law enforcement should eliminate innocent people from their searches, and searches that do include driver's license photos should require a court order, and a ban should be placed on any tracking of people for political or religious beliefs, race, or ethnicity. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports as Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was preparing to go head-to-head with Democratic rival Hillary Clinton in the third and final debate in Las Vegas on Wednesday, hundreds of hospitality workers and protesters gathered outside the hotel Trump co-owns near the Las Vegas Strip. Demonstrators waved signs and banners next to what the organizers called a wall of taco trucks. That was a reference to Trump's proposal to build a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico, as well as a riff on comments by a Trump supporter, Marco Gutierrez, who had said without action on immigration reform, you're going to have a taco truck on every corner. The protest was organized by the Culinary Union, which represents 57,000 workers in Nevada, the majority of whom are Latino. According to Bethany Kahn, the Culinary Union's communication director, workers at the Trump International Hotel voted to unionize in December 2015, but still do not have a contract. Some protesters blame that on Trump, who owns 50% of the property. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
I was doing my regular 11 o'clock security sweep around the perimeter of my house when I noticed a couple of young people having intercourse in the front seat of a car out in the street. So I ran inside and I grabbed my video camera. As you can imagine, I stood in those bushes for over 20 minutes watching these two degenerates grind against each other, and I'm thinking, this behavior is simply unacceptable. Now, if you think this is an isolated incident, you are dead to rights wrong. I have 36 hours of footage to prove it that I have personally collected from sickos just around my own town. For example, I saw perverts having sex in swimming pools clearly visible from the roofs of adjacent buildings, on boats that anybody could see with a telescope, at night on the beaches where they can easily be watched by anyone hiding behind a fence wearing their night vision goggles. It's simply disgusting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
That's right, it is Free Talk Live, second hour. And we've been talking to Parker here, young Parker, on the Skype line. And I thought it was worth holding over into the second hour. We don't generally hold over into hours when it comes to calls. But Parker is hot on the ideas of liberty. And he wants to go to a town meeting and perhaps read some of the words of Lysander Spooner, who is probably not known to very many people outside the liberty movement. This is an abolitionist from the 1870s who created a company that competed with the United States Post Office, was put out of business, and exchanged a great deal of writings with Grover Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can see how sort of, although he's a great writer and makes a lot of points well before his time, he's obscure. I had never heard of him until I got in the liberty movement, and you know, he was esteemed for that reason. And one of the points he makes, which it's a really great one, is that either the Constitution is powerless to stop the growth and depredations of the government, or it authorizes all of them. One of the two. Either right. All this stuff is what the Constitution was meant to do, or it's been powerless to stop it. Either way, it is either a terrible document in one case, or a useless document, or nearly useless document in another. And I tend to see the point that's made by it. Certainly, many people appreciate the Constitution, but at the same time, the point is well made.
Yeah, and I guess my question for you, Parker, is, what are you trying to accomplish? Is it to help educate, because that's an admirable thing to do, or is it a specific goal you're looking to achieve, something concrete, some action?
Well, that's a really good question. And the thing is that I became a anarcho-voluntarist, if I could combine anarcho-capitalist and voluntarist into one singular term.
We'll let that go, sure.
Yeah. So I became a voluntarist or anarcho-capitalist or whatever roughly around January or February of 2015.
Okay.
And the reason why I became a voluntarist was because, well, prior to that time, like several years earlier, I was listening to Alex Jones, which, by the way, completely insane. He's gone off the rails. I don't think
he's entertaining.
So yeah, but so I watched this documentary called The Gray State by David Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he never got to make his
movie
film, which was supposed to be sort of this pseudo fiction sort of thing where like there's a lot of reality in it, but there's also a lot of fiction, so you're not quite sure where that line is between nonfiction and fiction.
Right. I sent those guys money for that one. That was a movie I wanted to see made.
Yeah. So I watched that, and I sort of thought to myself, holy crap, nothing, absolutely nothing can stop the deprivations of the state. But it was sort of a fleeting thought. I never really gave it a whole lot of thought to it, and it never really stuck in my mind at the time. But then, only a few short days later, I found this post in a Facebook feed or comments or whatever on this picture, and it was the Constitution of No Authority in YouTube form as an audiobook. I listened to the entire thing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this guy completely destroys any argument whatsoever that the Constitution has any authority, and as such, no one should believe it.
Wait. So, Parker, let me ask you this. How old are you? I don't know.
I am 24.
Okay. 24 years old, and would you consider yourself to be a very logical thinker?
I would think so.
Are you curious? When you confronted with a problem, do you try to look at all sides?
Yeah, I mean...
Are you kind of a voracious reader? That the best way for you generally to consume new ideas is reading?
I don't read as much as I should, but
more than most people.
There's a low bar, Mark. Come on.
I would say I'm roughly maybe on par or slightly above par.
Okay. Would you say that you?
Let me
would you say that you're the sort of person that quickly and definitively decides for themselves whether something that's going on is right or wrong? Do you often find that that feeling sort of welling up in you that this is wrong or this is right when dealing with a certain circumstance?
I would definitely say that in terms of things, when I come across something that's pretty easy to ascertain, I would say it's pretty easy for me to take a hardline stance and say this is wrong or this is right, and here's the reasons why.
Okay. So what you have described is, according to the Myers-Briggs, and I'm not going to say that this thing is the end-all be-all of personalities, but you've described either an ENTJ or an INTJ personality. And I don't. Have you ever taken this, by the way?
I know that it's something about psychology, but I don't think I ever took that.
Yeah, Google it.
Maybe you have, I just forgot.
You should take it just because I think that everybody should take it, even if you should probably read the critiques on it. But it's essentially the zodiac signs for smart people. So, it's more true than zodiac signs.
That's good.
But it's not true.
It is sort of a generalization that you may find parts of that may apply to you and you may recognize them.
So here it is from the women here. Let's see, from INTJs, and I don't know what about ENTJs. I'm just reading. I just Googled something while I was talking to you. INTJs form just 2% of the population, and women of this personality are especially rare, forming 0.8% of the population. So, what you've described is probably on the outside maybe 5% of the population, including the ENTJs.
Wow,
You don't communicate, you don't learn, and you don't consume information the way that most people do. But I will point out that you consume and information and determine right and wrong the way that a lot of libertarians do. These folks are highly represented in the liberty movement. Now, I'm not one of them. I'm an ESTP, which is, Han Solo, I believe, is probably the best, example of an ESTP. Now, good. Han Solo's a fine guy to have in a firefight, but he's not exactly a person who relates strongly to the truth, right? And this can be really difficult for the NTJs, I'm just going to shorthand it here, the NTJs to sort of deal with, right? So, but ESTPs tend to be great salespeople. And what I'm saying here is that don't presume that something that was very useful to you is necessarily going to be very useful to everyone, but don't assume that it isn't either.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with your idea of going to the town meeting and reading a bit of Lysander Spooner to them, but if you read something to someone and it's more than 3 or 4 sentences long, expect their eyes to glaze over. There's not much difference between Spooner to these people and somebody reading the King James Version of the Bible to you.
Right, or John Madden. One thing I would say, I'm sorry.
On that point, it may make a lot more sense to try and, because Mark, you are a high person in the church that you're at, the Free State
I'm
Church,
Quaker.
or whatever.
Oh, you mean a minister at the in the Shire Free Church?
Yeah. Well, it might make some amount of sense, a lot more sense, to try and link some sort of religious aspects and Spooner together and do a sermon on that.
I'll tell you.
If they're religious.
And if you can link in personal stories about you and your life living in that community with Lysander Spooner and those ideas, you're gonna get their attention.
Thanks for the call, Ricky.
The following is an incredible, life-changing free offer for anyone with hearing problems who wants to start hearing everything more clearly again. We're now offering free in-home trials of a revolutionary hearing breakthrough called Listen Clear to anyone who calls this special toll-free number now. 1-800-719-2949. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also qualify for free shipping and free batteries for life. Listen Clear is precisely designed by top audio engineers. It adjusts to let you find the perfect way to hear everything, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And Listen Clear is so invisible, people may not even know you're wearing it. And it's so lightweight, you may even forget you're wearing it too. Don't miss this special life-changing opportunity to hear everything more clearly again for free with a 100% free in-home trial, free shipping, and even free batteries for life. For free information, call now. 1-800-719-2949. That's 1-800-719-2949. 1-800-719-2949.
Think about this. Your community's aging water infrastructure systems are very likely to be contaminated with heavy metals like lead, disinfection chemicals like ammonia, chlorine and chloramines, and pharmaceuticals like statins, pain meds, and antidepressants. And no, water treatment plants are not equipped to filter these pharmaceutical toxins out. Protect your family's water supply with the trusted Big Berkey water filter. New NSF EPA-certified lab tests show Big Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria, and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification, and our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. We're all over the board this evening between talking about the troops and their what appears to be their love and admiration for Gary Johnson, the presidential candidate, to how to convince people of the ideas of liberty. I'm happy to talk about all these things or anything else. It's Mark with you.
And Chris.
You can call us at 855-450-3733, 855-450-FREE. So before we get back into it, Chris, let's take some calls here.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thanks for this show, by the way. And I just wanted to mention that I have one more testimony of how my life got a little bit better with President Obama. I don't know how much he had to do with it, but my food stamp renewal got to be less torturous.
So it's just easier to get food stamps?
You were complaining about that, the amount of time that you would have to put in to fill out forms and all the arduous work you would have to go through to get food stamps again, correct?
Yeah, but the thing is that when we had with him in office for the last 8 years, the last couple of times I renewed, they just mailed me one piece of paper. I just signed it and I mailed it back with a self-addressed envelope. And I thought, this is bizarre. I said, how could this be easy?
Yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with the economic downturn, which, of course, started just before Obama took office and really took hold by 2008. And, so this was what you're talking about is that same time frame from 2006 to 2010, somewhere in there?
No, it's after 2 years, after he became president, like 2-3 years afterwards.
Okay, right.
All of my renewal. So that's why I'm giving him credit, because I don't know how much of it he had an effect on it.
Well,
but
I think what I would say is that this is government overwhelmed. So I don't have the percentages in front of me, but I know that after the last government-created housing bubble crash or bubble burst, that we have a lot more people on food stamps than we ever did before. And
more people on disability, which is something that should be entirely different. But
sure.
During times of economic crisis, more people tend to go on disability, which has nothing to do with that. It's really about your disabilities.
It's a way that you can convince the government you cannot work and you cannot provide income.
Yep.
But on food stamps, we have somewhere close to half the population that is receiving some form of government assistance. And I know the numbers on food stamps, it's way, way, way up there. So if a government agency is inundated by millions and millions and millions of requests for food stamps, they probably would think, wow, I didn't want to be in the government to do actual work, so maybe I'll come up with ways to streamline that process and make it a whole lot easier. So if that's government efficiency, that's okay. You know what you would do?
I still give him credit for it, because otherwise
I don't think there's any problem with giving him credit for it. The fact is, Sarah, he's going to get the blame for everything that happens during his administration. So I don't have any particular problem with giving him the credit, whether he had anything to do with it or not. But let me ask you this: how long did it take you from the moment you decided I need food stamps to begin getting food stamps?
Well, you know what? When I used to get food stamps a long time ago, I was completely homeless. And at that time, I used to get like $125 or something, 28 years ago.
But how long?
That was when I was not even getting any check.
How long did it take from you talking to them to getting the food stamps?
Well, you know what? First you have to sit there for a whole hour, and they make you fill out like maybe 30 or 25 pages of paperwork. And then they want you to bring in ID or some other stuff.
Okay.
And I was running around, and sometimes I did not even have ID. So,
okay.
But it was pretty aggravating.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that getting food stamps initially is very difficult. And you would think that if somebody is asking for food stamps, that they're probably hungry. Would be my guess.
Right at that moment.
And if somebody's hungry, you should get them a cheeseburger. Like the first thing should be, when you go to the food stamp office, is they should have maybe
a little buffet set up in the corner.
Some a pot of Beanie Weenies or something. Some
finger sandwiches, something.
Something for people to eat. Nothing fancy, but I mean, for God's sakes, you can get a can of Beanie Weenies pretty cheap. And this is one of the difficulties that I see there. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing: is that there's nothing thing about the so-called handout, that is a handout. That's a myth because they either hope that you'll get so aggravated you'll go out and work if you're able, or if you can't work, that you'll go out and kill yourself or starve to death or freeze to death. Those are the three options that they give you. And a lot of the people have known to, like that welfare mother, shoot all of her kids and kill herself. And here in Albuquerque, they shot the security guard. He got confrontational with a social worker because she probably wanted him to bring in some paperwork that would have 30 days or 10 days or something, and he got violent, and then he, shoot him, working $10 an hour, and go home and kill himself. So the whole idea is to get people off of this one way or the other, but people get so aggravated that people really can't really work. Why would they be at the food stamp office if they could really have a job or hold down a job?
Well,
no, they got emotional problems. They're illiterate. They have anger problems. They got mental illness.
You're saying the bureaucrats at the food stamp office have these problems?
What'd you say?
You said the bureaucrats at the food stamp office are these sorts of people? Is that what you're saying?
Or are you saying that?
No, I'm talking about people that apply for it. You know what I'm saying? If people the whole idea is to push these lazy people. They aggravate them and they make it hard. They'll go out and work. A lot of these people are at the food stamp office because they can't hold down a job. They can't even apply for a job.
A lot of them. I mean, I've certainly met people who are gaming the system too.
Yeah, I have too. And Sarah, I just want to explain one little scenario. I live in a town of about a couple thousand people, say 2,000 people. We have in New Hampshire, the town is the first place people turn for welfare assistance. That's the first step. In our town, we spend exactly $0 on food for the poor and for the needy and for people who can't get food. We do that because we have a thing called a food shelf, which is completely volunteer. Lots of companies in our area, grocery companies and Panera Bread, for example, donates food.
Bread.
They donate their old bread. And if you walk into the food shelf, which serves 5 towns in this area, so, say close to
Langdon one?
10,000 people, yeah.
Yeah, I used to get my pig food from the Langdon food shelf, and I can tell you poor people don't like vegetables.
There you go. But the point is that with no government assistance whatsoever, other than maybe providing them with a building to work out of, we don't have people on food stamps, which I think is pretty amazing. That's all volunteer work. That's all donated food, and that's all things, why not something like that as opposed to Big Daddy government running it? Would you care if your food was provided by volunteers versus provided by the government?
Well, you know what? In the state of New Mexico, if they did that, over half the state would just starve to death because over half the state is on government assistance.
I'd have to check that out. Thank you for the call, Sarah.
Thanks,
I really
sir.
Appreciate it. 855-450-3733. It's hard to believe a state half the people could be on welfare. 855.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Want to build a maintenance-free, low and slow charcoal briquette fire that burns for hours for free? MeatMastersRadio.com will show you how to build a low-temp charcoal fire that's guaranteed fiddle-proof. It's easy and free. MeatMastersRadio.com teaches charcoal barbecue skills on new topics every week. Go to MeatMastersRadio.com. That's MeatMastersRadio.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agrist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agrist Hosting, that's AGORIST, hosting.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to healthforliberty.com right now. That's healthforliberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Talking about, well, we're talking about Gary Johnson and his polling numbers amongst the troops, and we were just talking to Sarah from New Mexico about food stamps and her experience on them. You know, one question I have is, what's your most outrageous food stamp story? Because, you know, we all know that there are people who need help, can't work, and those sorts of things. We also all know that there are people who only take the help because they can get it and then refuse to work because you know, their needs are met. So for me, the most outrageous food stamp story I've heard is an intelligent, capable 30-year-old guy who, you know, is living on the Illinois food stamp program. Essentially, it's not that he can't work. It's that he chooses not to work. And he'll tell you this.
Right,
I mean, he
to
just
your face.
Tell you to your face that that's what's going on. And, you know, he's gaming the system. He'll use terminology like that. It doesn't need that stuff. And the system's ponderous. It attempts to be fair, you know, and all these things. And in that way, it hamstrings itself. Mm-hmm. They can't just say, you know what, you can work. Get your butt out and work. And you know what? If you don't work,
can't say that.
You're going to go hungry. They won't say, we're going to give you this for 3 months and then we're going to stop. They don't do that. They just keep on giving them the money. God knows how long it'll go on.
And this is one of those programs that is supposed to be somewhat means tested. You are supposed to be revealing what your income is, what your assets are you working, are you pursuing work, all these things that should, in the government's mind, identify whether you are eligible for food stamp assistance. But again, they've what frustrates me the most, and always a story like that frustrates me, and I think I know who you're talking about. But what frustrates me is the ease that if you do, and like Sarah talks about, hey, it's so much easier than it used to be. Just fill out like one form and boom, you got food stamp.
It's a renewal, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and maybe that's a little bit different. Again, we don't know exactly what it takes to get onboard the first time.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing that kind of irks me is the use of like the EBT card. Now, it's sort of a dual-edged sword.
EBT is what food stamps are now.
Yeah, and maybe that isn't the same in every state.
A preloaded credit card kind of, not a credit card, but a preloaded debit card kind of thing.
Yeah, but again, showing my age, back when we used to talk about food stamps, we literally talked about stamps, about things that you had to get out and to count out.
I only saw one on one occasion. I was working at a convenience store. Well, actually, I was working at the, to be clear, I was working at the officer's canteen at the prison. And a female officer came up and, she kind of jokingly said, "Do you take these?" And I said, "What is that, a cashier's? Or what are the things, the American Express, what is that, a traveler's check?" I'd never seen one. A traveler's checks I'd seen.
Right. Look kind of like that.
A food stamp I had never seen. She said, "No, it's a food stamp." I'd never seen one before.
Right.
Now, where I come from, I would never, even if I was on them, I would never show them to anybody. But that's just sort of my upbringing.
But that's the thing. That's how the program used to work. Is if you did want to use them, you were in line for your groceries because there was no express checkout like everybody else, and you had to go and dole out all the stamps that were needed for that
probably
transaction.
Was embarrassing.
Right. That's the point. There was a little bit of humility placed upon you. Because it was noticeable.
Now, there was a story here in New Hampshire about a convenience store clerk who got fired for refusing to sell cigarettes to somebody who had an EBT card. Now, there's a difference between food stamps and like EBT. I'm not entirely clear on all this stuff, but this card was the sort that this person could buy cigarettes. This was some kind of supplemental income that they got. This wasn't food stamps.
Right.
This was something else. And pardon me if I don't know all the different types of welfare.
I don't either.
Spend time parsing this stuff out. But I can see why this woman would say, "Hey, you're poor. You should be using your money for things that are going to help you not be on this program."
Right.
I can see that point. I mean, that's a completely valid point to me.
Yeah.
I can see why somebody might get upset if somebody buys lobster with food stamps or something like that.
Yeah.
I get that point. Now, I don't think you should eat ramen noodles. I should hope that you're spending your time eating things like vegetables and meats and whole foods and those sorts of things. I would hope that they can that the cost can cover that. I would imagine they can't, though.
Well, here's the rap libertarians will always get, and that's that we don't care about the poor, that they shouldn't get there's no such thing as a free lunch, you shouldn't get this. But I think most people that I know who are of a libertarian bent agree that we do have to take care of people who can't take care of themselves.
Yes, I think that should be done voluntarily, but I think that the important part is that people are creatures of incentives. No one will claim, very few people will claim otherwise. And if you incentivize people to not work, some percentage of the population is not going to work. Yep. So if you say, "Look, we'll give you this assistance, but you can't make anything more, and if so, we're going to take it away."
Right.
If somebody's poor, you should give them some assistance. You should encourage them thoroughly in that period of time to be very successful. And don't put roadblocks in their way. Don't put mental barriers in their way. Let them succeed. The thing is that I would argue regarding the government is the worst organization in the world to administer programs like this.
I could not agree more. And some of the best ones out there as far as results are religious organizations. The Mormons, I don't know if you've ever looked into that very much, but they absolutely, and that's part of the reason they store up so much food and things like that. That is to help their neighbors out if their neighbors need it. But sort of those sort of golden rule ideas, and like I talked about, the food shelf in our town that feeds hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are needy.
The old systems had their value, and there's no doubt that what people will talk about is dignity.
Right.
If you talk to somebody long enough about ideas surrounding the government getting out of charity, the term dignity is liable to come up pretty quickly.
Yep.
And that's where I part ways. I don't believe there should be dignity in accepting food and things like that from other people. Now, look, I ask for things all the time. I'm asking you right now to amp Free Talk Live at amp.freetalklive.com. That is not the position of strength. That is a position of asking, supplication. I believe that people, for one, it's good for you. Supplication's good for you you learn things in life. You give power to other people, which is awesome. It's empowering and that sort of thing. But most importantly, it's about entitlement. I don't believe I'm entitled to your dollars.
You hope to earn it.
I hope to do something that causes you to earn it. But in some cases, I hope that people who accept charity, when they accept it with a glad heart, they're liable to work harder to get out of that position.
Right.
It just creates the right atmosphere and the right incentives, to my mind. If you want people to have dignity in charity, then that's where I part ways.
Yep.
Let's go to Ricky calling in on Skype. Ricky, you're on Free Talk Live.
Sweet. Brother Mark, Brother Chris.
What's on your mind, Ricky?
How are you, Ricky?
Hey. Well, Sarah's timing couldn't have been better. I mean, I have basically two topics. I did mention about Parker, but I'm going to chime in real quick about this whole Sarah thing. What she was pointing out is a sign of the times. Now, I'm going to say this right now. The big problem right now in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it's more apparent here than anywhere, because I know
30 seconds, Ricky.
Huh?
30 seconds. Hit it.
The state is overstepping its boundaries, and as a result, administering the money in very poor ways. And they're looking at, here's how we fix it. Okay. Can you carry me over, brother?
I've got another call in that I've got to take.
Oh, that sucks.
Sorry, buddy. Thanks for the call. 855-450-3733. 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live.
You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
If you had one day to teach someone economics, what would you say? We would say that innovation and prosperity requires economic freedom. Visit fee.org/courses and check out Economics in One Day, a crash course in free market economics that you can present to your community. For over 70 years, the Foundation for Economic Education has been a champion of liberty. Start today at no charge by visiting fee.org/courses and learn why economic freedom matters.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
After vetting the 37-year-old for factors such as looks, screen presence, and film credits, Hollywood insiders unanimously agreed this week that area man Dennis Kiernan lacks the sheer star power necessary to carry a major motion picture. Industry experts spoke to reporters today about the Charlottesville, Virginia resident, who they say just doesn't have what it takes to crack into the A-list.
Love him or hate him, I think we can all agree that Dennis Kiernan is not a bankable star. He's got to have sex appeal, talent, charisma, and most importantly, that X factor. I should want to sleep with Dennis. I should want to be Dennis. Do I want to be Dennis? No.
Experts agreed the Virginia native and father of one does not have the widespread appeal required to secure a distribution deal with wide release, while also saying they had no reason to believe Kiernan would ever be capable of delivering the type of powerhouse performance that generates buzz at Sundance, Cannes, or Comic-Con.
This is the Onion News Network.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
And Chris.
And we are live, waiting for your calls at 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Roger Ver, who's an early proponent of Bitcoin, a libertarian, an entrepreneur, and a peace activist, has predicted great things from Monero. Monero is a cryptocurrency with robust security and privacy features. People have begun trading it on the dark web, and that's how Bitcoin got its start to some extent. Ver has predicted a market cap for Monero as high as $1 billion in the near future, and Jax.io is incorporating it into the Jax wallet, the official wallet of Free Talk Live. You owe it to yourself to become educated on Monero. Now, I'm not going to tell you to buy Monero, but I am going to tell you that that I've got it and that you should take a look for yourself.
You bet.
You got some, Chris?
I do.
Okay, well, there you go.
A little bit of Monero.
GetMonero.org. That's G-E-T as in get, and Monero, M-O-N-E-R-O. .org. Getmonero.org.
That's exciting. They're going to incorporate that into Jax. I love the fact that Jax has that shape-shifting, being able to convert from one cryptocurrency to another built in. That is so convenient.
It's a robust wallet. There's no doubt about it. To me, it's the best program to handle cryptocurrencies. Let's go to Dean calling in on Skype. Dean.
Hi, guys.
You're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, yeah. Dean calling from London, England.
Well, pip.
Personally, Mark, it's great to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
To be on a lot more, and I really enjoy your perspective on things. And Chris, I really enjoy listening to you as well. So
thank you.
It's
hey, just out
greatly
of curiosity,
what you two guys do.
Do English girls think that American guys' accents are delightful?
Of course they do.
They do? Okay, I had no idea.
Me either.
Do you like all of them? Like, hey, I'm from I'm from New York. Do you like my accent? Like that kind of accent? Do they like that one too?
Not really. No.
What about if they got one of them country accents? Like they're from Alabama or Georgia or something like that. They like that one too?
Perfect. You'd be fighting the women off with a stick.
Really? Like if you wear a cowboy hat and some boots and then you talk with an accent like that, that would be successful? I really don't know.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. All right, go ahead, Dean. Thank you.
Yeah, just to give you guys a perspective of what's happening the other side of the pond, 22 miles off the English coast is the coast of France, Calais.
Right.
And there's an area there called the jungle.
There's an area called the Jungle.
There called the Jungle
in Calais.
And it's in Calais.
I presume that it is not a jungle.
Well, it's horrendous. There's they think anywhere between 3,000 and 7,000 immigrants.
Okay.
Trying to cross the channel to get into the UK.
Why aren't they staying in France? I mean, why don't they?
Well, French hospitality, I'm afraid, is nowhere near as good as English benefits.
Okay, so the French don't have as good of benefits as the English do.
No way.
Okay, I have no idea. You're talking to complete ignoramuses on this stuff.
Well, no, not at all. You guys are very wise. That's why I'm speaking to you, and I need a little bit of help here because I'm really struggling. Because obviously I've turned around to the ideas of liberty because of you guys.
Thank you.
So I'm struggling with this. There's a woman that is quite well known in the UK. She went over to go to a Trump rally, and she's quite right wing. And she went over to the Jungle, and it's literally a shanty town.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I've looked up some pictures, and it looks like.
Yeah, if you guys can see, it's horrendous. It's a living hell.
It's horrible, crappy flea market.
It is a living hell
with a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, I've been through there, and what these mainly they're Muslim asylum seekers are looking for asylum in the UK. When the UK lorry drivers, truck drivers line up to go through the tunnel or over on the ferry, these guys will throw missiles and objects in front of the trucks to slow the trucks down so they can climb onto the trucks while they're moving. This is how desperate they are to insert themselves into the trucks to illegally get into the UK.
Gotcha.
Now, also, there's been fatalities. People have died. And there's truck drivers, and they're not just English truck drivers. They're obviously European truck drivers as well. It's only a matter of time until one of these guys is going to die.
The truck drivers?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So these the hope is to get these trucks to slow down. So there's value to the immigrants in getting on the truck.
Yes.
Why are there no truck drivers that are taking payoffs to bring, if this is a successful way of getting immigrants in,
well, there may be.
Why aren't there truck drivers taking huge payoffs to bring immigrants in? I mean,
simple answer, Mark. $15,000 fine per immigrant.
Okay, so if in this case, what happens is that if an immigrant manages to slow your truck down enough that one of them is able to get on the truck, you are fined $15,000,
$15,000 per immigrant.
U.S. dollars or 15,000 pounds. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
$15,000, and that's just the fine for somebody jumping on your truck, right?
Yeah, and that's your fault. That as a truck driver, I'm not a truck driver, but this goes to tell you the madness that's going on.
Sure.
Now, obviously, that's one issue. The other issue is that this camp, sadly, is, and again, this is what I'm struggling with because this is religious dogma. This is just, you've got the Syrians don't speak to the Eritreans don't speak to the Somalians. The Somalians fight with the women. There's no women there. If there are any women there, they're subject to horrendous sexual abuse. Basically,
the reason that women aren't there is because they have an easier time in getting into the countries they want to go to, or that this place is
left behind.
Okay.
Yeah, women are second-class citizens. They are.
It doesn't sound like anybody's a first-class citizen in the jungle.
No. You guys can see online. The issue is that these people are getting into the UK, and they're bringing their prejudices and their practices with them.
Sure.
Now, I understand, the principles of liberties that borders are just lines on pieces of paper. Yep. I understand that. The problem is, Mark, is that, and again, that Germany's shown there's massive issues in Cologne. Mm-hmm. Chris, you're military guy. Was you based in Germany?
I never was. My tour of duty was rather boring, but I had a lot of friends who were based over there.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of your colleagues will tell you that there's places in Germany that have effectively become no-go zones.
Sure.
Especially for women. And there was a lot of problems at New Year's.
I've seen some reporters, female reporters, doing stories on this kind of stuff, and it was interesting, the sort of animosity that seemed to spring from nowhere.
Right.
I mean, how in the world do you get people to be all angry at you for standing there doing a reporting piece on a particular area? I mean, fascinating.
Well, this is it, Mark. I mean, sadly, these people come from societies where women are locked away and not seen. And when these guys come into Western societies and they see women, by their standards, dressed very
naked.
Provocatively, effectively naked, even though they're fully clothed.
Yes, right.
I
can see your ankles, and it makes me crazy.
Well, it's not that. It's that you are violating God's law.
Exactly.
And that's a whole different ball game, and that's the thing that we have right. But we have a hard time stepping outside of our Western ways to sit there and go, okay, well, that is what they would see to some,
Exactly, Chris. And Chris, I haven't got an issue with Islam, because Islam is a wide perspective like Christianity, and there's a very enlightened side of Islam. As Will Coley, that you have on a fairly regular, is a regular
makes an
guest.
Articulate defense of what he considers to be the orthodox, the right form of Islam. And I have a very difficult time, punching any holes on that. I don't tend to agree with him entirely when it comes to, women's places in society or, gays and adultery and these sorts of things. Yeah. But other than that, I don't find it really his interpretation any more objectionable than I find Christianity, the sort of fundamentalist Christianity.
Sadly, Mark, and this is the nub of the question, and what I'm struggling with, is that these people are bringing the Wahhabi, and again, this is for people that are listening.
Is that a term that they use, Wahhabyists?
No, no. Basically, they're bringing the medieval interpretation of Islam. And that's what they're bringing to Western societies. Now, that is kerosene. That is the flashpoint, because it's coming into westernized countries, and it's causing massive problems with assimilation.
I would imagine one of the problems is that so England's gotten rid of guns. Gun ownership in England is very low.
Virtually non-existent.
It's virtually non-existent. It's an island.
Mark,
and
throw away the key. If I got caught with a gun, I'm looking at 10 years plus.
Dean, can you hold the line? I want to talk to you about this a bit more. I think it's you don't get a lot of sort of first-hand experts talking about this issue. The number, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live. For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Via BTC is the fifth largest mining pool in the world by hash rate distribution. They recently announced they had officially mined their first Bitcoin Unlimited block on October 10th with a Coinbase-sized vote of 2 megabytes. Almost immediately after Via BTC's appearance at Roger Vere's free speech party in Milan, Italy, the pool announced they would be allocating 100% of their hashing power to mining Bitcoin Unlimited blocks. The team has confirmed they are running Bitcoin Unlimited. To learn more, go to news.bitcoin.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, October 20th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.64 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,270 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $633. Antiwar.com reports the Syrian government has been securing several deals lately under their amnesty offer to get rebels out of Metro Damascus, and secured another territory on Wednesday as some 1,800 people, including 700 rebel fighters, left the suburb of Mudamia. Under the deal, the rebels and their families were allowed safe passage out of the suburb and will be allowed to move northward into the Idlib province, which is held by the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. A lot of rebels have moved up into Idlib as part of the deal. The relocation of rebels out of Metro Damascus allows the government to have more secure control over the capital city, while the rebels in those suburbs have been virtually trapped and unable to act at any rate and aren't losing much in shifting northward. One danger, however, is that shifting everyone into the Nusra Front's territory could give that faction a huge boost in recruitment of experienced fighters at a time when the group is already one of the main focuses of the government's ongoing offensives. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a report released Tuesday found a database of 117 million law-abiding Americans is being used by police for facial recognition of suspects, which many constitute violations of civil liberties. The Georgetown University Law Center found 16 states are using the database in investigations to create virtual lineups and investigations, and is calling on Congress to enact laws to limit its use to criminal investigations. The concern, according to researchers, is that the database could be used to monitor political or religious speech. The database was also found to contain a disproportionate number of minorities. Claire Garvey, an associate at the Georgetown University Law Center and author of the report, said in a press release, face recognition is a powerful technology that requires strict oversight, but those controls by and large do not exist today, with only a few exceptions. There are no laws governing police use of the technology, no standards ensuring its accuracy, and no system checking for bias. It's a wild west. The technology was used to identify rioters in Baltimore during protest over the death of Freddie Gray. Some questioned whether it was proper because it could result in police approaching innocent people and violating the rights of protesters. David Roca, a staff attorney at the ACLU of Maryland, told the Baltimore Sun, the chilling effects on people exercising their First Amendment right seem to be pretty clear. In the report, researchers suggested the database should be limited to using police photographs, not driver's license photos or those from other forms of identification. Law enforcement should eliminate innocent people from their searches, and searches that do include driver's license photos should require a court order, and a ban should be placed on any tracking of people for political or religious beliefs, race, or ethnicity. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports as Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was preparing to go head-to-head with Democratic rival Hillary Clinton in the third and final debate in Las Vegas on Wednesday, hundreds of hospitality workers and protesters gathered outside the hotel Trump co-owns near the Las Vegas Strip. Demonstrators waved signs and banners next to what the organizers called a wall of taco trucks. That was a reference to Trump's proposal to build a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico, as well as a riff on comments by a Trump supporter, Marco Gutierrez, who had said without action on immigration immigration reform, you're going to have a taco truck on every corner. The protest was organized by the Culinary Union, which represents 57,000 workers in Nevada, the majority of whom are Latino. According to Bethany Kahn, the Culinary Union's communication director, workers at the Trump International Hotel voted to unionize in December 2015, but still do not have a contract. Some protesters blame that on Trump, who owns 50% of the property. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Readers rejoice. This week, Amazon unveiled the Kindle Flare, the latest model of their popular e-reader. The improved device has the ability to loudly and repeatedly announce the title of the book you're reading so everyone knows how smart you are.
Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut.
The hot new e-reader includes a massive catalog of titles, a sleek, easy-to-use interface, and a loud, clear voice that barks the name and author of your book on a loop. Amazon says the repetitive shouting is a small feature that makes a big difference. Readers say that with crystal clear 150 decibel stereo speakers, the Flare provides the most conspicuous reading experience yet. When you're not reading, the Flare automatically switches into bookshelf mode, which conserves power and reads off a list of everything on your Kindle.
Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a confederacy of dunces.
And Amazon's competition has also stepped up their game as Apple released a new iPad that whispers, "I have an iPad," over and over again.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Hour number 3. It's Mark with you.
And Chris.
We are live, coming to you, and you can give us a call. The number is 855-450-3733. Or, normally we take Skype calls. Right now I've got Dean on the line. Dean's calling in from London. And he's, here on Free Talk Live, we take the position that free people should be able to cross the borders of free countries freely, or you don't have free people and you don't have free countries. I certainly would not claim that there is no issue when it comes to immigration. There's lots of issues. Many of those issues are created by the government. Some of those issues are created by cultural clashes, and I think that's what we're talking about here with Dean. I think it's a great conversation to have. So, Dean, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Thanks for carrying me over.
No problem at all. So you're talking about this area of Calais in France, which is called the jungle, and apparently it's full of immigrants. Most of those immigrants' religion is Muslim or Islamic, and therefore it's easy to sort of call them all Islamic. Obviously, there are, the mayor of London is Muslim, right?
Yes, Sadiq Khan. Yeah, just got in just recently.
And he's not some kind of scimitar waving nut job, right?
No, he's a lawyer. The guy is a lawyer. He's a son of a bus driver.
I'm not sure that's a really good defense of him, though.
I know.
We call them liars down here.
Yeah, that might be worse than scimitar waving nut job.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So, either way, we're talking about a large span, and this is mainly, class based. Many of these Muslim countries, there's a large chasm between the successful and the unsuccessful. People who have gotten away have gotten successful. And part of the reason they're successful is assimilation. But many times assimilation's held up because of not just cultural beliefs, but religious beliefs. The idea that, that in many cases it has to do with the Western nations being open to immigration is the same reason that makes the immigrants so upset, because they're also open to sexual liberation in the sense that women should be able to do what they want to do, and these lifestyles that many of these immigrants are going to find abhorrent, and these sorts of things. So
and repugnant. I mean, that's the thing I've always kept going back to, was this is not just to me, and Will and I should have this conversation, but there's a strong intertwining of the political life, the social life, and the religious. It's all one thing. When we talk about, for example, mainstream American Christianity, for example, you've got Democrat Christians, you've got Republican Christians, and they're fine. That there's nothing repugnant One side will argue that versus the other, but both are very easy to justify that, but it's not so intertwined that it's all one thing. And that's the part that I have a hard time understanding.
I don't think Islam is intertwined. There are certainly educated and liberal Muslims, plenty of them.
Certainly.
When you're talking about the people in the hinterland, that are the religious people that live out in the non-metropolitan areas in both the U.S. and in Islamic country, you're going to find conservatives, social conservatives.
It's true.
So I think that there's a parallel there. So, Dean, you had a question. Go ahead.
Well, what's happening is in Calais is that you've got this flashpoint, and these people have crossed continents to get there,
right?
And they are desperate, and I mean desperate, to get into the UK. These guys are scaling 20-foot razor wire fences.
So is it just that France has made it so hard on them?
No, Chris, it's just the fact that the French don't want to deal with it. Why would they want to deal with it?
I understand. And
why is England dealing with it? Or why is
because we have this proud tradition. I mean, wow, we kicked off America.
What's that mean? I'm not tracking you with you. That probably means something to you, and I don't get it.
Well, allegedly being the mother country, which is, I guess, most Americans would recognize that. Yep. That America was.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we have this proud tradition of I could take you to parts of London where literally they've taken waves of immigrants since the 12th century.
Okay.
We're talking the first wave of immigrants were the French Huguenots, the persecuted Protestants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of Huguenots made it over to the United States too.
That's it. Yeah, and that's been going on since London was a Roman, a Roman village.
How has assimilation gone since the creation of the dole? I mean, this is relatively new in the U.S., relatively new sort of historically in England. So it's my theory, and it's certainly not one that I created. I've gotten it from European writers, that it's the dole in England that basically prevents assimilation.
Yes, welfare is a massive issue, and this is why these guys are crossing continents. They're always guys in and around below the age of 30. Hardly ever any women. We've just taken, I think it's 20 children this week, if you look online now, allegedly below the age of 18 with beards and moustaches.
I've seen a few memes.
I presume that women are being born at the same rate as men are in these countries. Why are there women not coming? Why are they leaving women back in? Where did you say?
Mark, this is the worrying thing. This is what worries me, and this is where I'm struggling as a fledgling libertarian here. So this is where I need your help.
Yep.
These people seem to be taking Islam completely from the Wahhabi medieval perspective.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And again, sorry, I'm expanding again, so I apologize. But the superpower is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is propped up with American and UK arms.
Yep.
That's how they control their populace. Now, Saudi Arabia, being a superpower in the region, are the ones that fund the schools called the madrasas.
Yep.
Now, the madrasas are the schools that teach their interpretation of Wahhabist medieval Islam. All we seem to be getting is is people that are on this extreme end, this conservative end that Mark calls it, of this perspective of Islam. And this is what's causing the clash of cultures. This is the kerosene on the fire, and the problem is that eventually, where's this going to end?
Yep. So what I've seen
is it's only going to end one way, Mark, isn't it? It's going to end in conflict.
Oh, it's in conflict. Now, what does that conflict look like is really the question. So what I've seen is marches by Muslims, claiming that this thing or that thing is, immoral and against God's law, that kind of thing. But what I haven't seen, so in Saudi Arabia, you can expect a thrashing about the head and neck say, you're a woman who is, out without her headdress on or something like that.
Or driving, Mark.
Or driving or something, any of these things, right?
You get lashes for driving.
You can expect that. And then to some extent, I kind of see why if you go to somebody's country and you violate their norms that you might expect something like that.
Yeah,
but
of course.
If that came to my country, it wouldn't take a person looking too terribly threatening with something in their hand near my wife, upset about her driving or not wearing a headdress, before I did something that was deadly, right? So, there's going to be you're going to do something because you're not going to. In theory, that strike is not going to land.
I think what I'm hearing, and maybe because I suffer from this too, it's this conflict of ideas. On the one hand, I do believe in open borders. I do believe that people should be free to travel. If they are welcomed by another community, then why not? On the other hand, I do see that people have motivations, and if government is attracting people because of the handouts that they provide and the state that they provide, then shouldn't the people who are supposedly represented by said government have the ability to resist that, have the ability to push back?
We don't, Chris. This is forced on us. This agenda is forced on us.
Let me hold you through. We've got some questions from callers.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work. So I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years.
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
It never actually crossed my mind to try it until I was just at a dead end. And then it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on. It was awesome. He makes us feel like we saved him. Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days. I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
My computer is so slow, it's making me crazy.
I used to have that problem.
Did you quit using a computer, or did you buy a new one?
No, I called Geeks On Site. They made an appointment to visit my home and showed up the same day.
You mean they didn't ask you to bring your computer to a shop? That's what happened when I called a support company.
Geeks On Site can go to your home or business or even repair your computer online. They have 24/7 emergency service.
If you're having problems with your PC or Mac, call Geeks On Site, 1-800-591-1682. Our friendly certified computer repair experts are available 24/7. Call now for a free diagnosis, 1-800-591-1682. Data recovery, virus removal, and maintenance for all laptops, desktops, printers, and networks. That's Geeks On Site for friendly certified computer repair experts, available 24/7 over the phone or in your home or business. Just call 1-800-591-1682. That's 1-800-591-1682, 1-800-591-1682.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vedati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for lrn.fm in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.fm. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $1 lower at $1,271 per ounce. Silver is 2 cents lower at $17.71 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $628 US. Robertson Roberts has been helping clients buying and selling precious metals for nearly 40 years. Call Robertson Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. Every once in a while on Free Talk Live, a call will turn into an interview, and that's sort of what's happened here. Dean from London has called in, and his, the reason for his call is there's a huge immigration issue going on in London. Some of it is government caused, and some of it is culturally caused, and we're just discussing it back and forth, asking questions and that sort of thing. So we're going to get right back to Dean here, and I know that we got a caller on the line for Dean, so we're going to take that too. But I just want to, tell you real quick about healthcare. Healthcare is all messed up here in the United States, and the problem is that we've got a healthcare system that doesn't focus on health; it focuses on sickness. So health insurance will pay for treating sickness, but it gives you nothing for being healthy. So that means it incentivizes illness instead of health. Well, there's a free market healthcare company that can give you freedom from health insurance. HealthExcellenceSelect.com. They give you a proactive health assessment daily if you need it or want it. No charge, 24-hour access to doctors. HIPAA's messed up medical records so much that one doctor doesn't have any idea what another doctor is doing. What about a medical information card to give to EMS, first responders, emergency room, or whatever medical professional you want? HealthExcellenceSelect.com's got it. You can check them out right now. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, you'll love the service and the price. If you pay for your own health insurance, I encourage you. HealthExcellenceSelect.com. It's HealthExcellenceSelect.com. Back to Dean calling in from London. Dean.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, so, I can see the dilemmas that you've got in being, on one hand, believing the ideas of liberty, and on the other hand, dealing with day-to-day, looking at the sort of the day-to-day stuff that goes on right there in London. One thing I'd encourage you to read is Immigration, Individual versus National Borders.
Yes,
it's by,
I've heard this mentioned,
David Hathaway, and it articulates the opinion, the point, the libertarian point on immigration very well. But the problem is that the ideas of liberty don't exist in a vacuum.
Right. You have to look at things somewhat pragmatically, too.
So the question isn't, what should people be free to cross borders? The question is, now that they haven't been free to cross borders for a very long time, what's it going to be like? So if you build a dam and you have a bunch of water on one side of the dam, what's it going to be like if you take the dam away? Well, there's going to be this huge flood and everything downriver is going to be washed away and those sorts of things. Now,
that's a breach,
Yeah, that's not an issue. That's not a water issue. That's a dam issue. And so the government is the dam in this circumstance.
I'm sitting here in my front room, and Chris, I know you're a military guy, and this is an emotional thing to say, but I'm just looking up on my wall, and I'm looking at my granddad's medals, and they're up on the wall in a framed, in a framed picture.
Mm-hmm.
70 years ago, and I apologise, this is an emotional thing to say, but 70 years ago, the coast of France, the southeast coast, was drenched in American, English, and Canadian blood.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the sea was red with our our grandparents' blood. And I know you guys are a long way away, but look what's happening. Look how our culture is being. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your culture, surely.
That's an interesting question, because that's one I think about. I read a recent article, and I'll have to dig it up, and maybe I'll post it somewhere. But why nationalism is not necessarily counter to libertarianism. And if you take it back to that very that like our initial group of people around us, we're proud of our families, or most of the members of our families. Sure. I think everybody would agree. And if you extend that out, maybe you're very happy with your town or your village or whatever it happens to be. Is it wrong to believe that you like your culture? And maybe it's a larger group than just your village. I kind of understand that, and that to me is the conundrum. That to me is where ideas start to clash in my head, and I have to try to think through them.
Yeah, I don't have any particular issue with, for me, I don't really believe in an American culture. I think that there's all kinds of different ones, and there probably isn't an English culture anymore either necessarily. No. There's lots of different ones. The problem for me would be if you attempt to place your culture upon me.
Right.
And first off, rhetorically, if you attempt to do it sort of in a rhetorical fashion, you could expect a sort of lashback and stiff-neckedness from me. If you attempt to do it in a physical fashion, as we described in the last segment, where say you go to, like some Wahhabist decides they're going to come to America and enforce that my wife wear a headdress, and if she doesn't, they're going to lash her with a stick or something.
Right.
That's going to be very bad for that Wahhabist. He's going to get to meet Allah very quickly.
And now we're talking about a self-defense issue, or defending your hearth and home.
When culture and self-defense collide, right? Like that Wahhabist believes thoroughly when they're in Saudi Arabia, these religious police, and they've got some kind of, they call them religious police. They believe thoroughly that they are right in what they do when they beat up women for not wearing headdresses or driving and these sorts of things. And that's, if you want to beat up women in that country, I don't believe they should. I believe that countries should open doors and let women, escape from those kinds of things. But it doesn't seem, from what you're describing here, Dean, these are largely men in these camps. And, what's happening to the women? Dean, let me...
They've disappeared. They're not there. This is the thing, and this is the worrying thing, is that, say these guys get across to the UK, which they will do because they're determined and it's going to happen. There's no way of stopping them. 22 miles of English Channel will not stop them.
They'll get a tire, fill it up, and come across.
Well, that's exactly what they've been doing, Mark. They've been getting rubber dinghies and literally paddling across.
Sure. We go to Miami if you ever make it over here and count the Cubans.
I got a call for you.
Okay. Wow. This is turning into...
Vernon from Louisiana. Vernon, you're on Free Talk Live. What's your question for Dean?
Dean, you sound like you have more of an Australian accent than you do a Briton. Have you ever lived in Australia before?
No, I'm sorry, Vernon. I'm what's called a Cockney from London, so I've got a very strong London accent. So I
didn't think you were a Cockney. I thought they dropped their THs and turned them into Fs.
Well, I'm a posh Cockney, Mark, but
posh Cockney.
Yeah, I'm a posh Cockney. Yeah.
Is this new?
Can you do an Australian? Can you do an Australian impersonation?
I really can't. No.
Thanks for the call, Vernon.
Sorry.
That was comedy gold.
We are always hitting the issues hard here.
I have never heard an Englishman attempt an Australian accent.
But funny, every time I come to the States, I always go to Sarasota. Which I know you're from, Mark.
Next time you come, let me know.
Yeah, and they always think we're Australian, me, my wife, and my kids.
Well, I don't have anything nice to say, so I shan't say anything at all. I believe London should be able to at least tell an English accent. I can't tell the 30 different accents that are on the island by any stretch of the imagination. So, I'm sure if I heard a Liverpudlian and a posh Cockney next to each other, I'd be like, oh, there's a different accent.
Campers and survivalists, get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. The number's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the very contentious topic of immigration in Europe. And I'm not talking about people moving around inside the EU. I'm talking about people largely from, predominantly Muslim countries, most of them rather poor, coming to European countries, and not the ones that work hard and assimilate and, do all these things, the ones that don't. Essentially.
And maybe some who have some other agenda. I never lose sight of that too, that there are, we have bombed these countries for years and years and years, and some people hold a grudge.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that many of the people that hold, there's certainly some in mainland Europe. I haven't heard too many in England, but there was a subway issue. There was some airplane bombers at one point in England. These things are all issues. Mostly the policing forces can handle those folks. I think that the big problem really comes down to sort of cultural clashes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you real quick before we go back to Dean calling in from London. Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus, believes the greatest threat to Bitcoin comes from the inside. There are those in the Bitcoin community that don't want to see Bitcoin grow. They're holding back the increase of what they call the block size. And this is something that goes on within the program. And a new Bitcoin client has been introduced. It has increased the block size and is supported by Roger Ver. Recently, via BTC, that's the 5th largest miner, switched exclusively to Bitcoin Unlimited. Now, this is a version of Bitcoin that is an evolution, essentially. Bitcoin prices spiked by 5% on the same day that was announced. Is that a coincidence? Most observers don't think so. I certainly don't. Bitcoin should not be held back by a few. You can learn more at bitcoinunlimited.info. It's bitcoinunlimited.info. And I'm interested in hearing about this, so about Bitcoin Unlimited and seeing how it goes and that sort of thing. Let's go back to Dean.
Hi, guys.
So, hey, Dean.
Thanks for keeping me on. It's an honour. I'm honoured to be kept on for so long. So
no problem. You're bringing up a very important issue, and you're not, just crazy about it. And that's really where immigration falls. The immigration subject falls apart. Them foreigners are trying to kill us. I mean, I don't have much tolerance for it. So
because we get that every day here in our
I am going to give
campaign.
you an answer to your question. I guess your question is essentially, how do I A, be a libertarian, and B, not be a fool? Because immigration looks like it's a real problem in this particular area. Now, I've pointed out that in much of this instance, you've got a government problem, not an immigration problem.
That's right.
It's exacerbated the issue, but you have to deal with the world as it exists today, right?
Yeah.
So here's my theory. I can see why somebody doesn't want a theory played out in their life, right? I should be the one playing out my theory, not you. But my theory would be that if you if you created a program where anybody can come in the country, but they don't get NHS.
Yeah, it's just benefits, Mark. It's just, welfare.
Yeah, they don't get any benefits at all. They're not protected by a minimum wage. They're not their kids aren't they don't get anything, that sort of thing. Anybody who's from outside the country gets basically a second-class citizenship. I call it a blue card.
Yeah, Mark, I can hear those human rights lawyers sharpening their pencils.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the human rights lawyers aren't doing anything for those guys that are in the jungle in Calais right now. I mean, right? I hear you.
Sorry, Mark. Give me your point, because then I've got to give you something else that's quite shocking. But go on.
So essentially, you create a program where they get none of these no benefits at all, and they're just allowed to come in the country and work. And the gun rights of all Englishmen are returned to them. If one of these nuts attempts to foist their culture upon you, then as far as I'm concerned, a free person can defend their body with deadly force. And that's how I'd call it. Now, I know that that's a completely different country than the one you're living in today, and that's a lot of qualifications and big changes, but that's what my proposal would be. So go ahead.
Yeah, I believe you're right, because an armed society is a polite society, and I do agree with that. And for me, having that opinion in the UK is pretty controversial.
Of course. I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's controversial. That opinion I've just given
Right.
doesn't go down well
it gets
at all.
everybody pissed off because on one hand you say that you're going to let all the immigrants in. The liberals that are fools say that's great. What a wonderful and progressive person you are. You're a right thinker, and we just think you're awesome. Of course, those people,
and then you continue, and they're like,
selling the country down the river, right?
And you get the conservatives who are like, finally somebody standing up for our right to defend ourselves.
Right.
Wait, you're going to let them in?
Right, and economic freedom in that you're not being, there's no welfare and all this other stuff. Then again, I know that, as I understand it, Englishmen tend to support the National Health Service at like 80%. So,
well, it's a religion, Mark. It's become a religion.
Yeah.
It's,
can you explain the parallels,
your mum or your father or your brothers and sisters, you've bought into the religion, haven't you?
Once the NHS has saved mom or dad or whatever, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because the joke of it is not the sick joke, is that if we had private healthcare, we would have had further medical developments because it would have been led by the market. But you see, people have been so brainwashed by socialist healthcare. That's all they know.
Sure. And we're brainwashing ours too. This is, you can pick your subject, but it does. You have your battles to fight there, and we have our battles to fight here. But it is changing hearts and minds, and sometimes the best way to do that is to try to demonstrate them. Sometimes it is best to just spread the words of liberty and spread the ideas, and hope that they take hold with more and more people, and hopefully the young.
The difficulty that England has is your country of 22 million? Am I wrong? 60 million? I can't remember.
Oh, no, Mark. We're about 65 million.
Sorry.
We're a tiny little island. We're just a tiny island.
60 million that has the best benefits in Europe. So every immigrant wants to get there.
Oh, they're the magnet.
Yeah.
And whereas in the United States, if they talk about there's the crazy number is 20 million illegal immigrants. 20 million in a country of 300 million people, you're not even at 10%. Whereas it wouldn't be too long before England would be swamped with, say, 60 million immigrants if they just opened up the borders and gave benefits to everybody.
Well, imagine this, guys. You can Google this. The NHS, the National Health Service in the UK, is either the second or third biggest employer in the world.
Behind
That's
what,
only
like the Catholic Church?
The US Postal Service.
Oh, God.
Or the Indian Railway.
Oh.
And we're a little island of 60 million people.
See, now I thought the U.S. Department of Defense was way up there on that list,
but
too.
He's right. Every doctor, every dentist, every nurse, every person who empties the trash can in one of these places, they're all NHS employees.
And guys, the waste, the abject waste will just give you nightmares.
Well, Gary, Dean, I really appreciate you calling in and discussing this with me. You've done a fantastic job articulating the issues. And
can I just leave a final comment, Mark?
Yes, sir.
The dynamic we've got here in the UK, you guys have got those dangerous Canadians in the north, and then you've got the Mexicans in the south. Okay, they are both essentially Christian cultures.
Yep.
You're surrounded by Christians. Look what we're surrounded by.
Well, it's the numbers certainly are building up on the border there.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
855-450-3733. And now you can call back in on Skype. The username is lrn.fm. 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Warning, if you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-959-5928. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, Do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-959-5928. That's 1-800-959-5928. 1-800-959-5928.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Investment Rarities, a 43-year-old company, has created the best silver offer ever. Get a U.S. Silver Eagle, Canadian Maple Leaf, Austrian Philharmonic, OPM Pure Bar, and Silver Round. Have all 5 for $99 postpaid. You heard me right, 5 ounces of silver below cost. No credit card fees, free shipping. Just $99 and you'll have a great start on what it takes to survive even the worst economic storm. Act now and receive Jim Cook's exclusive paper explaining how it's possible to make a fortune in silver today. Don't miss this opportunity. Call 800-328-1860. Read how the above-ground supply of silver has dropped below even gold. The secret is being suppressed. The price could explode at any time. Call today at 800-328-1860. Get 5 ounces of silver for only $99. Find them on the web at investmentrarities.com or call 800-328-1860. Call now before it's too late. 800-328-1860.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Final segment. We might be able to squeeze you in if you call 855-450-3733 right now. That's 855-450-FREE. I've got somebody on Skype, so if you're calling in on Skype, try calling on the phone. 855-450-3733. Let's go right to the phones. Actually, real quick, tell you about Fee. If you had one day to teach somebody about economics, what would you tell them? If you don't have an answer, it's okay, because for over 70 years, the Foundation for Economic Education has been providing free resources to teachers and students. Their newest course, Economics in One Day, will give you a breadth and depth of knowledge of how economics works so that you'll be able to teach others. Fee gives you tools for that, too. Take Economics in One Day now for free at fee.org/FTL. And learn key economic concepts, the inspiring vision that the market economy brings, and the challenges that government solutions face. Start today no charge, at fee.org/FTL. That's FEE.org/FTL, and learn why entrepreneurship matters. Let's go to David calling it on Skype. David, what's on your mind?
Well, I got my own things, but I can play into that last one rather than change the topic. So a couple of questions is I would have liked to heard his last statement expounded a little more. Look what Dean, I guess Dean's probably still listening, what you're surrounded by, Dean. And as a now becoming an independent island nation, you should actually be able to defend your borders more easily than the United States, for instance. And when you say what you're surrounded by, I'm presuming you're talking about the Muslim people that are trying to get in through whatever avenues they can. But then I don't know, maybe you're referring to if you go, a few hundred miles further and you get to the edge of Christian territory, if that's what you're referring to. I'm presuming it's the first one, but I don't know. So I'd be curious about that. And then on the libertarian proposal, so if you have open borders and you allow people to come in under the conditions that you laid out, I believe it's Mark, is it?
Yeah, the blue card.
Yeah. What prevents, and I got other questions, but you probably don't have time, and you probably have other callers. So at least this question, what prevents invading peoples to intentionally come in under your open borders and then once within, then wait till they have critical mass and then attack you from within, as opposed to traditionally attacking you from outside your border because you hadn't previously allowed them in?
When has that ever happened in history? Can you give me an example?
Well, no, I can't. Because, well, it probably has. It probably has happened in prehistoric times that we don't have records of. However, it hasn't happened because we have. And first of all, I'm not hostile to you. I
just asked you a question. I just asked a question. So, if you had something in mind that has occurred in the past or something like that, I'm just trying to make it clear.
No, not necessarily. Okay. I'm looking at what I would say. The way I would answer that is, in the past, we've had basically all peoples have maintained their borders. Even tribal people.
Now, I don't think that that's true at all. In the United States, had basically porous, open borders for the first close to 200 years of the nation, and people would move across back and forth. They'd come, they'd pick food, they'd leave. That kind of thing. The passport was created in World War II as a temporary measure,
like so many.
And the protection of borders. Where was this nation that was so wealthy that it could prevent people from passing through? People could pass through with nearly no trouble, travel from one place to another. I reject categorically.
You're talking about in the United States?
No, I'm talking about worldwide. I reject the notion that there have been very many countries that have defended their borders, as many of the border proponents mention.
I want to hop on and sort of defend what he's saying. I think you can get that critical mass, and maybe that's not as hard as we're talking about.
It's possible.
Well, look at what's happened in New Hampshire with a very, very few number of people and the impact that they have had on government here,
and how difficult it is to get people to move for the Free State Project, and how many successes we've supposed to have had. So
right, but if you take that and compare it to a country like England, where maybe critical mass it's in the millions, but maybe you have millions of people willing to move that all share more or less a common mindset.
If you refer to it as an invasion, then that makes me think armed and hostile, right? And in that case, the first step is stop bombing people in foreign countries so that they want to invade you.
On that, we're agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so if the concern is that people want the wealth and leisure that you have in your nation so badly that a bunch of them will come, but then not assimilate, I think that there's something to be said for that. There are people that won't assimilate. Let's take a look at the Amish. The Amish have been here for 200, 300 years, and those people have not assimilated. Now, basically, people consider them to be Americans. They're part of our culture. This weird subculture is part of our culture. So, but most people who've come, the Irish, the Italians, and the Germans, and everybody, all throughout history, the complaint has always been the same. They're not going to assimilate. How can they ever figure out American culture? All they want to do is sit in the middle of town and listen to oompa music on the weekends and drink beer. These things were said.
True. However, True, however, the immigrants that you're talking about, Irish, Italian, whatever, they're fundamentally different than an Islamic immigrant, because they did assimilate, and they did assimilate because of the similarities between the greater similarities than differences between those that were already here and those groups. However, there's a great difference, the obvious difference, and that is held up. They don't let they don't change their ways. Look at Dearborn, Michigan, for instance. You'll have pockets like that, all around the country that basically become little nation states of their own, because it's their like the Amish, they don't want to assimilate. They won't assimilate. However, it's not in the Amish's lifestyle to attack those that don't assimilate to the Amish. You see what I'm saying?
And I'm fine with people not assimilating if that's what makes them happy. I'm not okay with violence. And that doesn't matter whether it's a Polish immigrant or an Islamic immigrant.
Right. So I would look at the Chinese, for instance. These are people that look different, have different religions. They often lived in pockets, and they still haven't assimilated really, really well sort of in eastern United States. I can't say what it's like over in the West Coast. I haven't spent enough time over there. I know that my nephew was dating a Chinese girl or something like that for some period of time. But I mean, I don't really, I've got some Vietnamese cousins that were adopted into the family. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what the assimilation levels are out west.
Well, the Chinese are the largest number of immigrants into our country.
Yeah, that much is true.
You wouldn't think that by listening to the news.
What you see are industrious people who value education and these sorts of things. You never hear anybody say anything about those darn Chinese immigrants. The worst thing that they say is apparently they're not that good a driver. Is like this, the stereotype that's tossed out there. So okay, so they don't drive the same way. But there's some parallels there. Don't you think that a second or third generation Muslim immigrant is probably going to be tempered in their beliefs?
Some will and some won't. There'll be those that are more than tempered. They want to completely escape but there's always going to be those that remain with the traditional ways for whether they choose it or it's forced upon them. They're more rigid to it than whatever you want to an Irish or an Italian or whatever model you want to use.
Well, let's look at conservative Christians. I mean, they really don't. If you compare them to the average American, they're significantly different. They don't like the same things. Oftentimes, many of these conservative Christians even have different foods. These sorts of things. So they're out there.
But not anywhere near as different. For instance, if you pick, say you pick an extended family up from Saudi Arabia and transplant them to anywhere in the United States, they're not nearly as different as that situation would be.
I don't care if they're different. I care if they attempt to change my life and my culture.
I care about violence.
That's what I'm getting at. Another food for thought or something to ponder is look at around the world when you have populations of Christians living with or next to populations of Muslims. There very, very often is a war that breaks out kind of spontaneously.
That's very, very recent. And one of the reasons I feel is because Muslims feel largely internationally put upon, put
bombs upon,
that kind of put upon, put hellfire missiles upon.
Right.
So I would want you to show me that happening en masse prior to 1990, and then that would be me being much more interested.
When did Sarajevo happen? Was that right in 1990? That was Christians attacking Muslims in that case.
Yep, in the 90s.
What in the 90s?
Yeah,
so
you would also see probably some clashes with the Soviet Union and Afghanistan in the past. I really appreciate the call. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you.
It's been Free Talk Live.
Because we are smothering in spam, please do not reply to all when you can instead reply. I was recently among over 100 invited to a corporate reunion. It's always a warm affair, and that's the problem. Enthusiasm for our upcoming get-together caused many recipients to RSVP the organizer with a cheery reply to all. I can't wait. Then others piled on with a reply to all to that. Then the "I'm out of my office now" autoresponders joined in. So I replied to all, asking that we all reply only to the organizer. Hey, at least I tried. One invitee, apparently retired, shot back, "Point taken, but I really like seeing the responses since they're so positive." Smiley face. This better be an open bar. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The live edition of Flaming Freedom is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, October 20th, 2016. Silver is trading at $17.64 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,270 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $633. Antiwar.com reports the Syrian government has been securing several deals lately under their amnesty offer to get rebels out of Metro Damascus, and secured another territory on Wednesday as some 1,800 people, including 700 rebel fighters, left the suburb of Mudamia. Under the deal, the rebels and their families were allowed safe passage out of the suburb and will be allowed to move northward into the Idlib province, which is held by the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front. A lot of rebels have moved up into Idlib as part of the deal. The relocation of rebels out of Metro Damascus allows the government to have a more secure control over the capital city, while the rebels in those suburbs have been virtually trapped and unable to act at any rate and aren't losing much in shifting northward. One danger, however, is that shifting everyone into the Nusra Front's territory could give that faction a huge boost in recruitment of experienced fighters at a time when the group is already one of the main focuses of the government's ongoing offensives. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a report released Tuesday found a database of 117 million law-abiding Americans is being used by police for facial recognition of suspects, which many constitute violations of civil liberties. The Georgetown University Law Center found 16 states are using the database in investigations to create virtual lineups in investigations, and is calling on Congress to enact laws to limit its use to criminal investigations. The concern, according to researchers, is that the database could be used to monitor political or religious speech. The database was also found to contain a disproportionate number of minorities. Claire Garvey, an associate at the Georgetown University Law Center and author of the report, said in a press release, face recognition is a powerful technology that requires strict oversight, but those controls by and large do not exist today, with only a few exceptions. There are no laws governing police use of the technology, no standards ensuring its accuracy, and no system checking for bias. It's a Wild West. The technology was used to identify rioters in Baltimore during protest over the death of of Freddie Gray. Some questioned whether it was proper because it could result in police approaching innocent people and violating the rights of protesters. David Roca, a staff attorney at the ACLU of Maryland, told the Baltimore Sun, the chilling effects on people exercising their First Amendment right seem to be pretty clear. In the report, researchers suggested the database should be limited to using police photographs, not driver's license photos or those from other forms of identification. Law enforcement should eliminate innocent people from their searches, and searches that do include driver's license photos should require a court order, and a ban should be placed on any tracking of people for political or religious beliefs, race, or ethnicity. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports as Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was preparing to go head-to-head with Democratic rival Hillary Clinton in the third and final debate in Las Vegas on Wednesday, hundreds of hospitality workers and protesters gathered outside the hotel Trump co-owns near the Las Vegas Strip. Demonstrators waved signs and banners next to what the organizers called a wall of taco trucks. That was a reference to Trump's proposal to build a wall on the U.S. border with Mexico, as well as a riff on comments by a Trump supporter, Marco Gutierrez, who had said without action on immigration reform, you're going to have a taco truck on every corner. The protest was organized by the Culinary Union, which represents 57,000 workers in Nevada, the majority of whom are Latino. According to Bethany Kahn, the Culinary Union's communication director, workers at the Trump International Hotel voted to unionize in December 2015, but still do not have a contract. Some protesters blame that on Trump, who owns 50% of the property. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Scientology minister Frank D. Linehan was arrested this morning on 471 charges of molesting Thetans. The popular 56-year-old minister was reportedly taken into custody after an investigation revealed this week that he sexually abused dozens of Thetans in the past year, with many of the ancient alien spirits being as young as 65 million years old.
Church members left these Thetans alone with someone they trusted, and Mr. Linehan clearly violated that trust.
According to police reports, the abuse continued as recently as last week when Linehan forced a 70-million-year-old alien spirit to perform oral sex during a level OT2 solo auditing session. Since the allegations against Linehan surfaced, more and more church members have come forward about Thetan abuse. Despite the church's efforts to recover from the incident, the scandal may alienate a whole generation of Scientologists.
I don't see how they can expect anyone to continue moving up the bridge to total freedom and achieve clear after this.
This is the Onion News Network.
Everybody get up.
So, hey, Steven. Had any good sex this week? Is that mic dying on you? It sounds like it's, Yeah, it sounds weird. Here, keep trying. Well, whatever. I had some good sex. I have it in the show notes. I wanted to talk about how I fucked you with the really big dildo. We've done this before, but I feel like yeah. Yeah. Will you join me over here so we could share a mic just for this segment till I figure out what's working with that one? Is it totally awful? I think it's a little better now. I'm not hearing you at all. So what I thought was interesting about this time that we had some good sex is what was unusual about it is that it was like post-fight sex. Like, we don't fight very often, almost never. I would say we've had like 3 memorable fights or so, and they've I think we've had sex after every single one, and like that's a thing in relationships. The make-up sex is like there's this tension that builds up between you and your lover, and I forgot to mention, this is Flaming Freedom. We do this every Thursday. It's a gay anarchist show.
Welcome to Flaming Freedom.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, we like to talk about sex, mostly, because there's like a ton of political stuff going on, and like we're anarchists, voluntarists, whatever, but gosh, I get so bored of talking about politics stuff, and I would much rather talk about sex, which is something we can all relate to.
What do you mean you don't want to talk about Darren Tapp? I guess.
What do you mean?
Well, that's
Oh,
the
'cause
best
he's
way to mix politics and sex.
What? Darren Tapp?
Darren Tapp.
Fair enough. Yeah, he wore some really sexy Rocky shorts, like gold shorts. You can find these pictures from Porkfest at the Big Gay Dance Party. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh,
Well,
yeah.
It was less of a fight and more of an emotional outpouring.
Yeah,
It's generally what we call a fight, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't like a classic style fight per se. It was more just like things emotionally came to a head, and you were very upset, and it made me very upset. Anyway, we had this time in between. We couldn't have sex right away, so we had to wait. We had like some kind of responsibilities. I forget what it was, yoga or something we had to go do. And it wasn't until much later that we were able to like get into the bed together. And when we did, I really wanted to have sex. Like I was very horny, but not like physically. I was not getting hard.
You weren't relaxed enough.
Yeah, maybe that was it. But I was having fun blowing you. I thought that was great. And I started to finger you a little bit. And was like, wow, this is awesome. You look so sexy. You're all spread out. You'd worked out. You're just, I was really loving you at that moment. And, but I wasn't getting hard was the thing. And I was like, oh, well, fortunately we've got these dildos and I'm ready to use one. So like, I wanted to make you feel good as my partner. And I wanted to do
Started
this.
off with the small one.
We started off with a small one. Yeah. And that was good. Worked you up a little bit, and then we're like, let's get to the bigger one. Why not? Let's try this one. And this is a 9-inch dildo, and around, I don't know, what would you say the circumference is?
The length is way less important than the circumference.
The girth.
Yeah, it's about forever wide. It's about as wide as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Anything's fitting in there. Anyway, you got some of it in there, and it was great. It felt so good.
Yeah, so it was good sex. It ended up being really good sex for me, even though I wasn't like getting hard during the experience. I was really into it. It was a weird experience for sex for me, because like normally you would judge how much you're enjoying sex by how hard you are, but I like really got off on giving you that kind of pleasure, just focusing on fucking you, like really making sure your body was well fucked, because with that you can suck at the same time as you're fucking someone with a huge dildo.
Indeed, and that is great. Well, we also had great sex earlier this week. I think it was an unusual sex because it was like you in the middle of the night decided you wanted to fuck me.
Yeah, that's right.
And you very rarely do that.
Well, like in the middle of the night. I know, I like morning sex more than anything, but this was just like surprise sex. Normally you can see it coming, right? But this was like, hey, we're in bed, you're basically asleep, and I wake you up fucking you. That was really good.
Yeah, it was great. Well,
it felt natural.
You rarely are so dominant.
Right. Yeah, it was I don't know what came over me. It's just good sex. So, that's good. Had good sex. Do you have any other good sexual experiences this week that I should know about? You came on the bench or something this morning,
on
right?
the stool. Yeah, that was all right.
See the sound pattern, how small it gets? You really need to talk into it. Just want to let you know. All right. So that was my good sex week. I didn't pull up the show notes for that. Oh, yeah. My friend is getting her breasts removed. Her plastic, fake, silicone, whatever, breasts that she got after suffering from cancer, had a mastectomy, had her breasts, her real breasts removed, and then got fake ones put in, so that she looked the same, still looked and felt like a woman. But now, after a crazy family situation, a divorce or separation of some kind, her kids are grown, she's going through some kind of like midlife crisis. And I'm torn about how to feel hearing that my friend got a piece of her body removed, because this is a fake piece of her body. It's not even real. It's put there to make her feel whole, and she's removing that. Is it a crutch that she's removing, or is it a piece of herself that she's removing? And is this a mistake, or can a person just willy-nilly just make up, have boobs or not boobs, or is it like hair or not hair?
Well, you're basically judging it from what I can tell immediately as a mistake. But this is something that was put in to make her feel complete. But like putting in an artificial thing into your body isn't going to make you a complete person. And I think she realized that she's a complete person in her own right and didn't need this thing. And then it also reminds her of how she used to think that she could be complete by having another person in her life. And then she realized that she's actually a complete person on her own, and that she doesn't need another person to depend on. And so it seems like she's trying to be independent of things that were supposed to complete her, when really she's totally her own complete person.
Well, I hear that, but removing a piece of yourself, even an artificial piece of yourself, in a medically unnecessary
they fall out
procedure.
and stuff too. Like they're not the best thing. They're not like a real breast.
They were not a risk. They were not a risk to her. There was no danger or risk of injury.
No, they're annoying. Like they get out of place. She has to go back and get them fixed. Like it's a hassle. It's not like a part of her body. It's a silicone sac that they cut in and like stuck in there, and it moves around and stuff.
Yeah. So maybe it was a mistake in the first place to get these things. I don't know. I just feel weird about it. I feel like it is a mistake. I think she's going to want her fake breasts. I think if she's middle-aged and in a middle-aged crisis, then one of the things that she's going to want to do